was neither selfish nor immature. He had an inkling that Tang Long's arrangements today might harbor ulterior motives. After all, why not invite the youth from the four prominent families instead of seeking distant connections? Moreover, Tang Long was evidently not a benevolent individual. He had previously shown a willingness to sacrifice Tang Chunxin for the sake of family interests through a marriage alliance with the Zhang family, rendering him untrustworthy. In contrast, the kind-hearted old lady stood in opposition to him. Thus Jiang Yuan felt compelled to support her. The villa was adorned in resplendent gold and brilliance, with even the entrance exhibiting an artistic design that, despite its simple blue and white color scheme, emanated an exquisite aesthetic. Tang Chunxin led the way, while Jiang Yuan and Tang Xiaoyi followed closely behind. Upon entering the main hall, they were greeted by an expansive interior, where an array of luxurious delicacies adorned the dining table, exuding an enticing aroma of delectable delights. Those who chose not to attend this social gathering evidently had little inclination towards indulging in culinary delights. Instead, they engaged in animated conversations in small clusters, creating a vibrant atmosphere. The arrival of Jiang Yuan and his two companions inevitably drew the attention of many attendees. Particularly, Jiang Yuan's presence captured the gaze of numerous women present, who immediately regarded him as their primary focus. That young man is so handsome, but why are there two girls by his side? They must surely be his younger sisters. Oh, I refuse to believe that such a charming young man would bring a girlfriend to a social gathering. Chapter 289. The admirers of Jiang Yuan, clad in an exquisitely tailored black suit that hugged him just right, exuded an air of composed confidence. His features, meticulously sculpted as though by a master artisan, radiated an extraordinary beauty. The moment he made his entrance, the majority of the young ladies at the gathering were captivated, their eyes sparkling with intrigue as they regarded him as a hidden treasure. Were it not for the grandeur of this event, attended by numerous individuals of considerable stature, they might have been unable to restrain themselves from calling out to him in excitement. Among them was a bold young woman named Yin Tianqing, whose assertive nature and distinguished background rendered her indifferent to the opinions of others. She boldly approached Jiang Yuan and inquired, "Handsome, why did you bring two women to this gathering? Is one of them your girlfriend?" Jiang Yuan smiled and replied, "You've misunderstood. They're my distant cousins. I'm here to accompany them to the event." Prior to their arrival, Jiang Yuan had privately arranged with Tang Chunxin to masquerade as siblings, as the unspoken rule of such gatherings typically allowed only single men and women to attend. Thus, posing as siblings was the simplest solution to avoid any unnecessary complications. Upon hearing Jiang Yuan's explanation, Yin Tianqing grinned with satisfaction and extended her hand for a handshake. "I'm Yin Tianqing. May I ask your name?" "Hello, I'm Jiang Yuan," he responded. Yin Tianqing continued, "We are currently in the first phase of the gathering, the ice-breaking stage. Shall we find a quiet spot to converse?" Taken aback by her directness, Jiang Yuan took a moment to admire her. Yin Tianqing's attire was striking. A black crop top paired with a short skirt that showcased her toned waist, a testament to her dedication to fitness. Her long legs were undeniably a part of an enviable physique, and her features radiated a unique allure, distinctly different from that of the average woman in Longhua, leaning more towards a wild and uninhibited charm. Her sun-kissed skin bore a healthy, wheat-like hue. Overall, she would likely earn a score of around 9.7, marking her as an exceptional beauty. Jiang Yuan chuckled. "Ice-breaking stage? What does that entail?" With a hint of surprise, Yin Tianqing responded, "You mean to say you're unfamiliar with that? Is this your first time at a gathering like this?" She then mused aloud, "Well, makes sense. A man like you probably doesn't need to attend such events, as you must never lack for female company." Jiang Yuan smiled and countered, "You flatter me. Yet, you two seem unlikely to be in want of male attention. What brings you here?" Taken aback by his candid compliment, Yin Tianqing felt her heart race, a faint flush igniting her cheeks as if a delicate flame were kindling within her. She smiled with a hint of satisfaction and remarked, "I previously accompanied my sisters to an event like this, but this time I am here with my cousin. I never expected to encounter such an admirable man as you. You are indeed fortunate and ought to be worthy of me." Hearing her audacious and self-assured words, Jiang Yuan couldn't help but let a slight smile curl at the corners of his mouth. This woman possessed a certain charm. Most of the girls he had met before were of the gentle variety, but this was the first time he had encountered someone brimming with wild vitality. Yin Tianqing then elaborated, "The so-called ice-breaking phase refers to the initial interactions between two strangers, where there exists a thick layer of ice between them that must be melted through mutual effort. Of course, You may also simply understand it as a means to initiate conversation. Jiang Yuan chuckled. I stand corrected. Yin Tianqing continued with an invitation. How about we move over there and have a more thorough discussion? Before Jiang Yuan could respond, he felt two piercing gazes fixated on him from behind, akin to bolts of lightning. The intensity of these stares sent a chill down his spine. A brief glance revealed Tang Xiaoyi and Tang Chenxin, both smiling at him. Yet there was an unmistakable sharpness underlying their smiles. Clearly, they were suppressing a certain intensity, waiting for the right moment to unleash it. Jiang Yuan understood that if he accepted Yin Tianqing's invitation, those two girls would undoubtedly become jealous and confrontational, leading to a potentially disastrous outcome. Thus, he reluctantly stated, my two younger sisters have had health issues since childhood, making it quite challenging for them to engage with strangers. That is why I came to accompany them to this gathering. I simply cannot abandon them. His words were a mix of truth and pretense, serving as a polite refusal of Yin Tianqing's invitation. However, rather than being offended by his clear rejection, Yin Tianqing regarded him with newfound admiration. His attentiveness to his sisters reflected positively on his character, elevating his standing in her eyes. Jiang Yuan, you are quite remarkable. Perhaps fate will bring us together again, she said, turning away but casting a lingering, intrigued glance in his direction before departing. There were many more women like Yin Tianqing, all intrigued by Jiang Yuan, possessing bold personalities that prompted them to engage him in ice-breaking interactions. Typically, during the initial phase of such gatherings, it is customary for men to pursue the women they are interested in. However, on rare occasions, situations like Jiang Yuan's arise, where his striking looks, distinguished status, or impressive wealth attract a number of admirers who take the initiative to engage with him. In just about 15 minutes, 3 stunningly beautiful women approached him, one after another, eager to break the ice. The 3 young women exude an extraordinary aura, clearly engaged in the realm of artistic creation. Jiang Yuan surmises they are either painters or musicians. Moreover, the timbre and intonation of their speech are imbued with an enchanting artistic charm, enveloping Jiang Yuan in a refreshing embrace akin to the gentle caress of spring. In a moment of reverie, he resembles an irresistibly sweet honey, attracting numerous refined young ladies eager to engage with him. Not only does Jiang Yuan captivate the attention of these young women, but Tang Chenxin and Tang Xiaoyi also possess remarkable allure, causing many gentlemen to eagerly prepare for interaction. An undercurrent of tension subtly palpable among them. Chapter 290. The hobby exchange session calm and composed. Jiang Yuan was not swayed by the enthusiasm of the 3 proactive young women, for he remained acutely aware of the purpose of his visit. Having encountered numerous women before, his primary objective was to thwart Tang Long's plans and fulfill the matriarch's instructions. Like a hawk with keen eyesight, he vigilantly observed the vicinity of Tang Xiaoyi, searching for any suspicious or threatening individuals that might require his intervention. In a mere 15 minutes, no less than 10 young men had approached Tang Xiaoyi and Tang Chenxin, eager to spend time alone with them. However, Tang Chenxin was resolute in her refusal to entertain any of their advances, instead urging Tang Xiaoyi to venture into the realm of socializing. Regrettably, Tang Xiaoyi persistently shook her head. This one is too plump. I'm not fond of him. This one is too slender. I do not fancy him either. This one is of average build, but lacks uniqueness. Thus, I'm not particularly interested. She crafted several excuses, decisively rejecting the advances of the eager suitors. Observing this, Jiang Yuan felt a slight sense of relief. Yet, with his astute experience, he quickly discerned that these men posed little threat or challenge. The truly menacing figures were lurking in the shadows, biding their time for the perfect opportunity to strike. Among them were seasoned players of the romantic game, fully aware of the significance of first impressions. To act rashly would only serve to alarm the unsuspecting, a strategy best avoided. This initial interaction was merely a rudimentary step, one that could easily lead to a loss of favor. For more substantial prey, they wisely opted for restraint, waiting for an opportune moment to make their move, hoping to leave a flawless first impression, a strategy of the highest order. Jiang Yuan, well versed in such matters, watched with keen interest, eager to see which exceptional men would emerge to vie for the affections of the Tang sisters. Approximately another 15 minutes passed when the captivating Miss Yin Tianqing returned to Jiang Yuan's side, a playful smile gracing her lips. Jiang Yuan, I bring you good news, she announced. Curious, Jiang Yuan inquired, what news do you bring? Yin Tianqing replied, my cousin Yin Tiansheng finds one of your sisters quite appealing and wishes to explore a deeper connection. Jiang Yuan raised an eyebrow. a bemused expression crossing his face. Is this indeed good news? Absolutely monumental news, Yin Tianqing asserted, her confidence radiating. Our Yin family holds notable status in the art world, and I am aware of your sister's reputation as a renowned actress. However, my brother is interested in another. He believes her to be younger and possessing greater potential, confident that he can cultivate her into an extraordinary woman. Jiang Yuan understood that her brother's interest lay in Tang Xiaoyi. He shook his head, replying, regrettably, my sister seems to be in a rather poor mood today. I fear your brother's hopes may be dashed. Yin Tianqing smiled mysteriously and remarked, that may not necessarily be the case. Following the initial ice-breaking interactions, we will naturally transition into the phase of exchanging interests, which is quite an intriguing stage. Just wait and see the spectacle unfold. Jiang Yuan replied, I'm looking forward to it. As anticipated, the next phase of the social gathering seamlessly commenced. Although there was no formal host present, the attendees were predominantly individuals of considerable caliber, thus negating the need for a dedicated facilitator. The so-called phase of exchanging interests was one of the primary objectives of the gathering, designed to showcase personal hobbies in hopes of captivating the hearts of the opposite sex. However, despite its noble intentions, many participants misconstrued this stage as an opportunity for ostentation, engaging in various displays of grandeur. The order of presentations was entirely voluntary, and soon, the boldest among the women declared, if no one wishes to compete with me, I shall go first. At her words, the gaze of the crowd converged upon Yin Tianqing. Once again, she took the initiative, being the first to step forward in this display phase. After all, she was Yin Tianqing, and it was prudent not to contest her precedence. The Yin family held considerable prestige within this intimate circle, and although it was a small community, the more exclusive the circle, the more valuable its members became. It was best to avoid incurring her wrath. We would rather observe how she chose to present herself. Yin Tianqing surveyed her surroundings, her wild gaze strikingly fierce, causing many timid men to shy away, bowing their heads in submission. She held a certain disdain for such individuals. Yet, upon catching sight of Jiang Yuan, a flicker of intrigue danced in her eyes. Jiang Yuan's gaze sparkled like stars, quietly observing her, unfazed as if unyielding in the face of a mighty mountain. Now, that is a man, Jiang Yuan, prepare to witness my performance. Her heart brimmed with a fervent desire to shine. With a gentle clap of her hands, she commanded 6 attendants to bring forth a concealed grand piano. Moments later, the audience beheld her delicate hand lift the curtain, revealing the piano's true form. This instrument was resplendent in a deep azure hue, crafted from materials of unimaginable worth, akin to a masterpiece sculpted from the world's most exquisite crystal, reflecting an ethereal brilliance. This is a rare crystal piano from the Bolin series. She actually brought this piano with her. How extravagant! Merely to perform a piano piece, she has brought forth an heirloom of astronomical value, truly audacious. Many attendees were taken aback, their eyes widening in astonishment. Ordinarily, such a piano would seldom be displayed in public. It would only be revealed in the rarest of occasions to share its unparalleled beauty. Yin Tianqing internally scoffed, for she had just issued a special command to have this piano hastily transported from her home. She cast a gentle glance at Jiang Yuan, and a subtle ripple stirred within her heart. Had she not encountered such a charming young man as Jiang Yuan, she would never have thought to unveil this exquisite piano. Her intentions were both clear and straightforward. During this phase of showcasing her passion, she aimed to captivate Jiang Yuan's attention by performing a piece on this treasured instrument. Chapter 291. The crystal piano that captivated all immediately, a grand and opulent musical feast commenced. Yin Tianqing's 10 fingers danced upon the piano keys like 10 enchanting sprites, skillfully weaving melodious notes. The audience, lost in the music, was enveloped in a symphony of admiration that resonated throughout the hall. Truly, she was the daughter of an artistic lineage, her prowess in piano nearly transcending the realm of the ordinary, approaching the caliber of a professional pianist. Her extraordinary talent at such a tender age promised an illustrious future. Not only did her technical prowess shine brightly, but the exquisite sound of the music was also attributed to the magnificent piano she played. However, it must be noted that an individual's skill is inherently intertwined with the quality of their instrument. Indeed, to possess such a precious piano was a stroke of fortune in itself. The audience quickly became enraptured by her superb performance, particularly. Several young men cast admiring glances laden with appreciation and affection. Yet, Yin Tianqing paid no heed to their accolades, her focus unwaveringly fixed on Jiang Yuan. Deep within her heart, she yearned to witness any semblance of astonishment on his face in response to her captivating performance. If only she could behold such a moment. Regrettably, Jiang Yuan's gaze remained tranquil, akin to a monk in deep meditation, silently observing her without revealing any emotion. This stoicism only deepened Yin Tianqing's sense of disappointment. After approximately 10 minutes, her piano performance gradually came to a halt, her fingers resting gently upon the keys. With grace, she stood and offered a slight bow to the audience. Instantly, thunderous applause erupted, with expressions of indescribable envy and longing illuminating the faces of the crowd. Her formidable artistic prowess, combined with her nearly flawless appearance and the exquisite piano, rendered her the focal point of attention, captivating countless onlookers. However, after casting a brief smile around the room, she redirected her attention back to Jiang Yuan. To her dismay, he appeared somewhat drowsy, his eyelids heavy and still, as though he had succumbed to a serene slumber. His indifference to her splendid performance was disheartening. Meanwhile, Tang Qinxin and Tang Xiaoyi, the two sisters, regarded her with a somewhat unfriendly demeanor. Their animosity had begun to brew when Yin Tianqing had approached Jiang Yuan on several occasions earlier, and now, witnessing her unwavering focus on him, their discomfort intensified. Especially, Tang Qinxin let out a cold snort and made a phone call to arrange for the delivery of a piano. The Tang family's efficiency was indeed remarkable. Within approximately 10 minutes, the instrument arrived. Most attendees of the gathering were scions of artistic families, and upon seeing the piano delivered by Tang Qinxin, they could hardly contain their excitement. This was a stunning piano crafted entirely from crystal. If the piano previously played by Yin Tianqing was a distinguished representative of the crystal series, then this one was undoubtedly the true monarch among crystal pianos. The former was akin to a locally renowned warrior, respected and adored by many, while the latter stood high above, wielding countless honors and power. The two were simply incomparable, with a clear distinction in their standings. It had been played by the world's foremost pianist, the Heinz crystal piano. When did Miss Tang acquire such an exceptional instrument? It was truly enviable. How extravagant it was to witness Miss Tang performing on the Heinzmann crystal piano for free. This was indeed a grand affair, and it seemed that Yin Tianqing had been overshadowed by Miss Tang. As expected, the moment Tang Qinxin sat before the Heinzmann piano and began to play, all eyes in the room shifted away from Yin Tianqing. Her level of performance was astonishingly high. If Yin Tianqing's piano skills were nearly on par with those of professional pianists, then Miss Tang's proficiency undoubtedly surpassed that of any professional. Her 10 fingers danced across the keys as if imbued with countless sparks of inspiration, following the notes with vibrant energy. In an instant, the music flowed like streams from the heavens, enchanting everyone present, who gazed at her with deep admiration. Tang Qinxin felt a flicker of pride within her. After all, she had long harbored disdain for Yin Tianqing, who had repeatedly sought to ingratiate herself with Jiang Yuan in her presence. Had it not been for her need to feign a sibling relationship with Jiang Yuan, she would have confronted Yin Tianqing long ago. Nevertheless, this method was indeed quite effective, as it allowed her to outshine Yin Tianqing on the spot. Miss Tang let out a soft hum, but as she played, her thoughts drifted to the fact that this piano was a gift from Jiang Yuan. It was because of this gift that she and Jiang Yuan had a subsequent story. At this realization, her heart raced as she glanced at Jiang Yuan, eager to see his enthralled expression. Unfortunately, Jiang Yuan appeared to be quite weary, his eyes slightly squinted. Tang Qinxin felt a twinge of disappointment. The piece she had chosen to play for him had lulled him into a state of half-sleep. Yet, she had unjustly accused Jiang Yuan, for at that moment, his consciousness had already submerged into the realm of the system. As Yin Tianqing played, Jiang Yuan found himself engulfed in a profound sense of ennui and promptly resolved to invigorate his spirits with a series of 10 consecutive draws. After all, once one has experienced the sophistication of advanced piano techniques, listening to somewhat inferior renditions inevitably becomes tedious. It is akin to the adage that transitioning from frugality to extravagance is effortless, whereas the reverse is fraught with difficulty. Miss Tang had already indulged in the exquisite performances of masterful piano compositions. Thus, listening to Yin Tianqing's playing felt somewhat lacking in comparison. Nevertheless, Jiang Yuan, brimming with anticipation, eagerly commenced his series of 10 draws. Chapter 292, The Acquisition of a Unique Skill. At this moment, Jiang Yuan was brimming with enthusiasm, feeling invigorated from head to toe. If you're offering a lottery, then I shall not succumb to fatigue. A hero cannot retreat in the face of battle. He gently summoned 10 mystery boxes, his 2 fingers gracefully gliding over all 10, executing a tenfold draw in one decisive motion. Come to me, my treasures. Reward: 1,000,000 yuan. 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 Reward: 10,000,000 yuan. 1 blue and 9 white. Jiang Yuan's expression froze. It seemed he had encountered a rather inauspicious beginning. Aside from the scenario where he drew 10 whites, this was indeed the least favorable outcome. However, adhering to the principle of luck conservation, akin to a series of 32 consecutive losses, one would eventually encounter an unbroken streak of victories. Following a downturn, fortune would surely smile upon him. Reinvigorated with confidence, Jiang Yuan summoned another 10 mystery boxes. A second tenfold draw. May fortune smile upon him once more. Reward: 1,000,000 yuan. 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 Reward: 10,000 yuan. Reward: 10,000 yuan. Reward: 10,000 yuan. Ding. Congratulations! You have received a dark gold critical reward. One selectable skill card. At last it has arrived. This was not merely an ordinary gold reward. It was a superior dark gold one. Jiang Yuan's face lit up with ecstasy. Based on his previous experiences, dark gold rewards were undoubtedly more precious and practical than standard gold rewards. I have awaited your arrival, and I am grateful I did not give up. Jiang Yuan meticulously examined this unique skill card. He had previously drawn a skill card, but that was bound to a godly driving technique. This new skill card, however, was considerably more formidable. Not only did it offer greater freedom, but it also boasted an impressive array of skills available for binding. Beyond the godly driving technique he had already acquired, there were over 3,000 additional skills to choose from. The screen was filled with an array of extraordinary skills, leaving Jiang Yuan somewhat dazzled. This was indeed an overwhelming abundance. However, upon closer inspection, he discerned some rather dubious offerings. For instance, the so-called expert flirting technique. He already possessed that skill. If he were to inadvertently exchange for such a thing, it would be akin to losing a fortune. Then there was the expert cleaning technique, which clearly seemed like a trap. Would he really have to exchange for a divine skill only to sweep the streets as a janitor? Nevertheless, aside from a few questionable options, Jiang Yuan felt quite satisfied with this self-selecting skill card. Versatility often implies omnipotence, allowing one to be of use in various unforeseen circumstances. The fact that Jiang Yuan had obtained such a remarkable item on his second 10 draw left his eyes gleaming with excitement. His fortune today was exceptionally favorable, and it seemed a harbinger of even greater treasures to come. With this thought in mind, Jiang Yuan summoned another 10 draw without hesitation. 10 blind boxes floated serenely in the sky, and he swiped vigorously once more. Reward: 1 million yuan. 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 Reward: 10 million yuan. A blue and 9 whites. Once again, the azure sky and white clouds painted the scene. The atmosphere turned slightly awkward. Yet, upon witnessing this familiar scenario, a thought suddenly emerged in Jiang Yuan's mind. History tends to repeat itself. Earlier, he had experienced a similar situation, and the next draw had yielded rewards. Could it be that this time would follow suit? Once more, 10 blind boxes appeared in the sky. Bring it on, Jiang Yuan exclaimed. He unleashed another 10 draw. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 1 million yuan. Reward: 10 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 million yuan. Ding. Congratulations! You have received a dark gold critical reward. One self-selected character template card. He had struck gold again. It was truly a remarkable haul. Moreover, it was a skill reward of a dark golden hue, representing the highest tier of first-level rewards currently available. Jiang Yuan was overwhelmed with ecstatic joy, feeling as though he had been possessed by a streak of extraordinary fortune to the point of breathlessness. His usual 10 consecutive draws had never brought him such delightful exhilaration. Especially remarkable was the fact that within less than 5 draws, he had astonishingly obtained 2 dark golden rewards. This was undoubtedly the most fortuitous occurrence in history. Furthermore, this particular dark golden reward was evidently distinct from the previous one. Jiang Yuan meticulously examined what this character template card entailed. You may select any character from the designated roster, and for a limited time, acquire all the abilities of the chosen character. Upon reading this succinct description, his heart began to race wildly. This was simply too powerful. The prospect of embodying the complete abilities of a character was exhilarating. If he were to choose to become a legendary stock market maestro, he could decisively plunge into the stock market, maneuvering with unparalleled skill, leaving chaos in his wake. He could claim all the investments made by the 4 prominent families in the market. At that moment, the heads of those families would likely come to him, begging for mercy. What a delightful scenario that would be. Particularly amusing would be the thought of that old scoundrel, Tang Long, who had persistently tried to make his life difficult. Should he actually follow through with his plan, it would undoubtedly be quite entertaining. Chapter 293. The arrogant female artist. As Jiang Yuan indulged in a delightful series of 10 draws, Tang Qianxin's performance unfolded quietly. Her delicate fingers danced across the keys with an effortless grace, producing a cascade of exquisite notes that flowed from her fingertips. The attendees at the gathering were captivated, their eyes ablaze with admiration as they beheld her playing on the Heinzmann crystal piano, utterly entranced by the ethereal music. Most of the guests possessed artistic backgrounds and thus recognized the rare value of Miss Tang's exceptional skills. The Heinzmann crystal piano further expanded their horizons and understanding. For Jiang Yuan and his companions, an immediate sense of astonishment and reverence bloomed within them. Among the crowd stood a tall and strikingly handsome man, whose gaze flickered with a mixture of intrigue and desire as he observed the Tang sisters. His name was Yin Tiansheng, the elder brother of Yin Tianqing. From the moment he first laid eyes on Tang Xiaoyi, he felt as though Cupid himself had pierced his heart. Now, witnessing Tang Qianxin's piano mastery, his enthusiasm ignited even further. Initially, he had intended to feign modesty to avoid unnecessary complications. However, he now felt compelled to reveal a hint of his own prowess in hopes of capturing the attention of Tang Qianxin and Tang Xiaoyi. As for Jiang Yuan, in his heart, he regarded him merely as a subordinate, unlikely to be Miss Tang's brother. Yin Tiansheng had conducted his due diligence beforehand and had become acquainted with the prominent members of the Tang family, finding no mention of Jiang Yuan among them. Given this context, it was clear to him that Jiang Yuan was merely pretending. The world often presents such whimsical phenomena. The wealthy tend to feign poverty, while the impoverished aspire to appear affluent. Coming from a distinguished background, Yin Tiansheng was well aware of this dynamic. He understood that wealthy individuals often choose to disguise their affluence as a means of self-preservation. His father and family had instilled in him the importance of maintaining a low profile from a young age. This was not due to the Yin family's weakness or timidity. Rather, it was a matter of discretion. Once wealth is displayed, it inevitably attracts individuals who seek to waste one's time and resources. One might find themselves inundated with requests for loans or favors, and acquiescing to each could lead to financial strain and mental exhaustion. Conversely, declining such requests often results in unwanted gossip and unnecessary distress. Moreover, those who possess wealth are frequently the recipients of flattery, rendering the need to bolster one's vanity rather moot. Consequently, many affluent individuals, lacking an overwhelming sense of vanity, tend to adopt a facade of modesty. Yin Tiansheng, adhering to his family's teachings, naturally embraced a lifestyle characterized by restraint and discretion. As for this young man, surnamed Jiang, he audaciously claims to be Miss Tang's brother. He is likely a distant relative of the Tang family, attempting to leverage familial ties for his own gain. Posing as her affluent sibling, it is probable that he is merely a pretender, a pauper masquerading as a wealthy individual. Yin Tiansheng mused to himself, suspecting that Jiang Yuan was simply a poor man putting on airs. Driven by vanity, many impoverished souls fear that the affluent will discover their destitution, often resorting to ostentation, feigning wealth. This behavior is epitomized by their tendency to boast about familial connections, which aligns perfectly with Jiang Yuan's current proximity to Miss Tang. Yin Tiansheng harbored a sense of disdain, Yet there was an undercurrent of secret delight in his thoughts. This indicated that the one person present who could potentially pose a challenge to him was, in fact, easily manageable. Individuals of such ilk are typically swayed by monetary allure. As he contemplated this, the performance of Tang Qianxin had quietly concluded. The hall erupted in a ceaseless cascade of applause, a thunderous sound that reverberated through the air. Almost every man and woman regarded Miss Tang with utmost admiration. At that moment, Yin Tianxing suddenly spoke up. He stepped forward, addressing everyone with solemnity. Ladies and gentlemen, I, Yin Tianxing, am deeply passionate about the arts, and today I have the pleasure of introducing an artist, Zhou Tingsha, to engage with you all. Upon his declaration, many in attendance initially dismissed it. After all, inviting an external guest for an interest exchange was rather opportunistic and not particularly credible. However, when the name Zhou Tingsha was uttered, the room fell into a profound silence, akin to a deep valley shrouded in tranquility. This was soon followed by a tumultuous wave of discussion. Zhou Tingsha, the rising star of the national painting scene, who burst onto the scene 3 years ago with an unparalleled prowess that swept away her contemporaries, is widely regarded as the most promising artist of her generation, poised to surpass her predecessors. Whether in meticulous detail or expressive style, her skills are exceptional, and a renowned master of traditional Chinese painting once remarked on her limitless potential. Moreover, her background is shrouded in mystery and distinction. It is said that she has mastered even the most elusive techniques, such as the intricate art of ancient mural painting. Furthermore, there are accounts of individuals who have witnessed her prowess in printmaking and watercolor, which rival her achievements in traditional painting. This individual is nothing short of a prodigy, captivating every artist within the art community. Who then is this Yin? The Yin family has maintained an exceptionally low profile within the capital, yet he has managed to invite such a top-tier talent to bolster his presence. The attendees of this soiree are far from the ordinary, but it is astonishing to discover the formidable strength and depth of the Yin family, far beyond mere appearances. This interest exchange segment, commonly referred to as a Versailles moment, is essentially a platform for individuals to showcase their abilities and prowess. While outwardly it appears as though they are seeking like-minded individuals, the essence of the gathering is, in truth, a display of self. The act of soliciting external assistance can yield no benefits if the quality of the aid is subpar. However, should one manage to enlist the support of true luminaries, the implications and essence transform entirely. While others may call upon renowned figures, offering exorbitant sums yet failing to secure their presence, I can summon them effortlessly at will. This, without a doubt, serves as an exquisite exhibition of one's own prowess and standing. Yin Tianxing, brimming with vitality, clapped his hands, and a tall, haughty woman adorned with dark glasses gracefully emerged. Her striking beauty was complemented by an elegance cultivated through years immersed in the realm of art, imbuing her with an aura of refinement. The moment she appeared, many men found themselves swallowing hard, captivated by the alluring combination of her regal demeanor, proud expression, and profound gaze. Coincidentally, at that moment, Jiang Yuan also stirred from his reverie, his eyes brightening slightly upon beholding the proud female artist. Chapter 294. Zhou Tingsha. Jiang Yuan had always harbored an appreciation for women with unique temperaments. After all, he was accustomed to the allure of beautiful women, and thus, his heart did not race at the mere sight of one. Yet, while attractive appearances may be commonplace, it is the captivating demeanor and charm that vary uniquely from one individual to another. To Jiang Yuan, this sentiment resonated profoundly. It was simply delightful. Currently, he was intrigued by the idea of gathering women of diverse qualities to form an artistic collective within his villa. Previously, he had already made arrangements for the Goose Sisters and Shaman, which had sparked this inclination within him. Take Zhou Tingsha, for instance. She appeared particularly well-suited to contribute as a painter in this artistic ensemble. The thought of having this talented artist craft bespoke portraits or commission pieces of his choosing was undeniably appealing. After pondering for a moment, Jiang Yuan concluded that Zhou Tingsha could indeed play a significant role in enriching his everyday life with fresh experiences. Perhaps he should devise a plan to acquire her talents. Was that too much to ask? Surely not. A spark of inspiration crossed his mind. Recently, his gaming company, Yuan Mei, had invested heavily in hiring several renowned master artists. Perhaps he could leverage these connections to impress the proud artist, Zhou Tingsha. He scrutinized her a bit longer. Her choice of bright red lipstick was clearly intentional, a color only the most self-assured women could carry with grace. It reminded him of the Black Widow he had seen in films, a character portrayed by a strong, independent woman in real life. The lipstick shade she favored bore a striking resemblance to Zhou Tingsha's, exuding an irresistible allure. However, what captivated Jiang Yuan even more than her lips were her eyes, deep and enigmatic. Even when standing in close proximity, it felt as though an entire universe lay between them, hinting at the secrets she harbored within. There's an old adage that states secrets can enhance a woman's charm, and in this moment, Jiang Yuan began to grasp its essence. Once Zhou Tingsha made her entrance, she furrowed her brow slightly and addressed Yin Tiansheng, saying, "Don't forget to ensure I receive adequate compensation for my efforts." Yin Tiansheng smiled gently and replied, "Rest assured, I have more than enough funds to satisfy you." Zhou Tingsha scoffed, "If it weren't for my father's illness requiring financial aid for surgery, I wouldn't bother assisting you at all." Yin Tiansheng narrowed his eyes slightly and remarked, "You're still as prideful as ever. I recognize your unique disposition back in our school days." Zhou Tingsha retorted, "How could one excel in art without a spark of ambition?" Before Yin Tiansheng could respond, she appeared to have a moment of realization. "Oh, I apologize. I forgot you have long since abandoned this path. Perhaps my words are lost on you," akin to speaking to a stone. Yin Tiansheng's eyebrows twitched violently, yet he managed to force a smile and said, "You may proceed with the arrangements we previously discussed. I shall compensate you handsomely, as per our contract." Zhou Tingsha remained silent, not even casting him a glance, and gracefully walked to the center of the gathering. Upon her approach, it was as if flames of fury were about to erupt from Yin Tiansheng's eyes. He had been classmates with Zhou Tingsha since their school days, during which she stood out as the luminous star of the entire class, captivating the affections of nearly every male student, himself included. Regrettably, Zhou Tingsha's proud demeanor had made it clear that she would only consider men who could surpass her in the realm of art. The essence of art is deeply rooted in talent, a fact understood only by those who have genuinely toiled in its pursuit. Alas, Yin Tiansheng's talent paled in comparison to hers, and thus, despite his lingering resentment, this youthful infatuation came to a silent end. This time, however, Yin Tiansheng saw an opportunity. Recognizing that Zhou Tingsha's father was gravely ill and in urgent need of a substantial sum for surgery, Zhou Tingsha, with her peculiar and haughty nature, tended to squander any money she earned. She would often proclaim that her talents were bound to yield returns, believing that wealth lost would eventually return. Additionally, she had generously donated a significant amount to impoverished children in mountainous regions, supporting them until their graduation from university. Therefore, at this social gathering, Yin Tiansheng boldly presented a considerable sum as bait, inviting his former classmate, who could also be deemed as goddess, to lend her support. Zhou Tingsha, considering their past connection and the urgency of her father's medical expenses, reluctantly acquiesced. She merely needed to create a single piece of art to earn money, and the potential earnings from appearing as a guest at this gathering were far more substantial. Thus, she begrudgingly agreed, though her attitude towards him was one of complete disdain, devoid of courtesy. Once Zhou Tingsha positioned herself at the center of attention, she retrieved a carbon pencil and a sheet of ordinary sketch paper. Glancing at Tang Qianxin and Tang Xiaoi, she smiled slightly and inquired, "Might I ask these two young ladies to serve as my models?" Tang Qianxin turned her gaze slightly towards her, while Tang Xiaoi curiously asked, "Why do you want to draw us?" Zhou Tingsha replied with a smile, "I was captivated by Miss Tang's splendid performance earlier. The melody still lingers in my ears, compelling me to sketch a portrait for both of you." Upon hearing her words, Tang Qianxin felt a surge of pride. Although Zhou Tingsha possessed a haughty nature, she would often engage with truly capable individuals on equal footing, displaying an attitude that was both warm and genuine, which Tang Qianxin found quite delightful. Tang Qianxin hesitated briefly before taking Tang Xiaoi's hand and sitting down. However, she gestured towards Jiang Yuan and inquired, "Could you also include him in the sketch? He is my brother." Zhou Tingsha glanced at Jiang Yuan and slowly shook her head, saying, "I have never drawn a portrait of a man. It is my principle. I apologize." Chapter 295. The principle of the matter. Jiang Yuan smiled faintly and casually remarked, "It is of no consequence. Since Miss Zhou adheres to such a unique principle, then let her paint my two younger sisters." Upon witnessing Jiang Yuan's gentle and humble demeanor, Zhou Tingsha could not help but cast a longer glance at him. With his sword-like brows and starry eyes, complemented by a countenance as refined as jade, he was undoubtedly the most striking individual present. Even Zhou Tingsha, a woman often referred to as a cold artist, felt her heart race slightly. though not to the extent of a fawn startled by its first encounter. Nevertheless, despite Jiang Yuan's exceptional looks and amiable attitude, she was resolute in her decision. After all, she was not an ordinary girl and held her pride dearly. Principles, she believed, must remain unyielding. Well, it is good that you understand, Zhou Tingsha nodded. Hearing her words, Tang Qianxin and Tang Xiaoyi felt a twinge of disappointment in their hearts. They had hoped to create a splendid collaborative portrait with Jiang Yuan. The opportunity to have an esteemed artist capture their likeness was rare and should be cherished. If the painting were to feature only the two sisters, omitting Jiang Yuan, it would indeed feel like a regrettable missed opportunity. Could you not be a little more accommodating? Tang Xiaoyi persisted with a hint of desperation. Rules are rigid, but people are flexible. He is our brother, not a stranger. We genuinely wish to include him in the painting. Tang Qianxin opened her mouth, intending to add her voice to the plea, but Zhou Tingsha resolutely shook her head. It is impossible. I have never reneged on my words since entering this profession. I stated that I do not wish to paint men, and that stands firm. Her declaration was absolute, allowing no room for negotiation. As the saying goes, one should leave a thread for future encounters. It is uncommon for a reasonable adult to be so bluntly definitive from the outset. Tang Jianxin Sayin Wa Li, acknowledging that this Zhou woman possessed a rather peculiar temperament, proud and self-assured, yet unwavering in her stance. This might be a common flaw among many exceptionally skilled artists. However, observing Jiang Yuan's calm and unperturbed demeanor, it seemed he was unaffected by the woman's attitude or the situation, treating it as a trivial matter. The Tang sisters felt disinclined to press further and chose a quiet spot to sit down. Their spirits dampened by Jiang Yuan's absence in the portrait, they posed rather listlessly. Yet, even without deliberate gestures, their innate beauty radiated, creating a captivating tableau that drew the gaze of all present. With eyes like autumn water's delicate lips, and a finely shaped nose, they embodied grace and charm. Their vibrant presence instantly brightened the atmosphere, leaving an indelible impression on everyone around them. Regardless of gender, many are captivated by the demeanor of these two sisters, unable to suppress their admiration for the divine elegance and allure bestowed upon them. Su Tingso, holding a carbon pen and a sheet of sketch paper, began her artistic endeavor with effortless grace. Her fingertips glided across the paper like flowing water, as the composition sprang forth from her heart, seemingly completed in the blink of an eye. With remarkable dexterity, her hand sketched each line and curve upon the canvas. Chapter 296. The demeanor of Jiang Yuan gazed calmly at the proud female artist, his eyes devoid of any tumult. He appeared wholly unconcerned with her impoliteness and arrogance, directing his full attention to her unfinished painting. Many in the room were taken aback by Jiang Yuan's reaction. Such composure and eloquence were indeed a formidable charm. Were it anyone else, the response would likely have been less gracious, perhaps even culminating in a heated exchange. Yet Jiang Yuan was entirely different. His nonchalant demeanor revealed the depth of his character. At the social gathering, numerous admirers had already been drawn to him due to his striking appearance, and now their admiration surged even further. While many may be inclined to approach someone for their looks, it is ultimately one's character and grace that sustains enduring relationships. Jiang Yuan's magnanimous and unperturbed disposition instantly garnered him the affections of many admirers. This young man was not only handsome, but also possessed a remarkable character. He was like a rare gem, simply irresistible. He exuded such gentleness, which captivated many hearts. His authenticity and lack of pretentiousness radiated an extraordinary charisma. In a corner of the gathering, a plump young man observed the scene with astonishment, gasping in disbelief. Can this really be happening? To me, this handsome guy seems to be yielding. How could these women perceive him as gracious and tolerant? The young man's face was a portrait of incredulity. Beside him, a tall, lanky friend glanced at him and remarked, "Fool." The same words spoken by different people yield entirely different outcomes. The plump young man huffed, "I don't understand. Speak plainly." The lanky friend chuckled and explained, "When a handsome man concedes, it's seen as magnanimity. If you concede, it's typically viewed as cowardice." Upon hearing this, the plump young man pondered Jiang Yuan with newfound scrutiny, recognizing the validity of his friend's words, albeit with a hint of discontent. Is it truly such a double standard? Why is there such a disparity? Regardless of gender, everyone exhibits a degree of double standards. I still refuse to believe. If you were a prince in a fairy tale, would you still wish to rescue a Cinderella who was a hefty woman with an unrefined appearance and cherish her for eternity? The lanky friend paused before replying. No need to answer. The truth resides in your heart. The plump young man fell silent. After a long moment, he sighed deeply. It is all the fault of appearances. Although Zhou Tingsha did not vocalize her thoughts, she too sensed that Jiang Yuan was extraordinary. However, her perspective diverged slightly from that of the other women. While they attributed his deference to politeness and good breeding, she perceived him as embodying humility, possessing an inner depth akin to mountains and rivers, seemingly regarding her from a vantage point of superiority. Upon reaching this thought, an involuntary sense of displeasure welled up within her, prompting her to hasten her strokes. Her movements were both agile and practiced, imbued with a fervent spirit and vivacity. In a mere span of less than 15 minutes, an exquisite and lifelike sketch emerged from her deft hand. Yin Tiansheng could not help but reveal a hint of a triumphant smile at the corners of his mouth, while his eyes sparkled with delight. Chapter 297, a stunning masterpiece upon the completion of the painting. Even Jiang Yuan could not help but steal a few extra glances at the work of art. This painting was a natural marvel, imbued with an ethereal spirit. Two enchanting young maidens, with bright eyes and captivating gazes, stood side by side, exuding an aesthetic charm steeped in artistic essence. It seemed as though the fingertips of Zhou Tingsha possessed a form of magic, effortlessly capturing the essence and expressions of the Tang sisters, Tang Qinxin and Tang Xiaoi. With remarkable fidelity, these sisters were already rare beauties in the world, and under her exquisite brushwork, they revealed even more of their unparalleled grace. The audience was utterly spellbound. Such an astonishing painting was undoubtedly a rarity. Moreover, it was completed right before their eyes. The tools employed to create this masterpiece were nothing more than a piece of rice paper and a single brush. The simplicity of these tools further accentuated Zhou Tingsha's formidable talent. There once existed an urban legend, suggesting that many men fell hopelessly in love with unfamiliar women depicted in photographs, to the point of obsession. What began as a mere infatuation could lead to a state of distraction, even sleepless nights. This notion of an unforgettable visage haunting one's thoughts ultimately drove many men to despair over this mysterious woman, pining away without ever having truly seen her face. Initially, many dismissed this as mere folly, a trick to deceive the gullible, and considered the rumors entirely unreliable. However, today, as Zhou Tingsha showcased her breathtaking artistry, revealing the allure of the Tang sisters in vivid detail, many were left in awe, pondering whether this urban legend might indeed hold a kernel of truth. Isn't this breathtaking? I would willingly trade 10 years of my life for this painting. Don't be ridiculous. How could a mere decade of life be worthy of such a masterpiece? I once believed in science and thought the idea of falling for a stranger in a photograph was laughable, but now I've changed my mind. This Miss Zhou is truly remarkable. It seems she was brought here by Mr. Yin, and she is anything but ordinary. The gaze of the crowd was undoubtedly fixed upon Zhou Tingsha and Yin Tiansheng. All eyes were filled with curiosity and admiration for the duo. Yin Tiansheng felt his lips curl into an involuntary smile, basking in the euphoric satisfaction of his vanity. Ah, what a splendid feeling this is. Today's social gathering. I am the star of the show, he chuckled inwardly. The guests invited to this event were all prominent figures, and to shine in such an esteemed gathering was a thrill for him. After all, Zhou Tingsha was his companion, and now that she had become the center of attention, it naturally elevated his own status in the eyes of others. With this thought, Yin Tiansheng felt an even greater sense of pride and glanced expectantly at the Tang sisters, hoping they might return his gaze. Zhou Tingsha was already accustomed to being the focal point of attention, her demeanor radiating confidence and poise. Simultaneously, the corners of her eyes discreetly scrutinized Jiang Yuan, eager to witness his astonished expression. However, to her considerable dismay, Jiang Yuan's gaze remained as tranquil as an ancient well, resembling the placid surface of an expansive ocean, undisturbed by the winds. You can feign serenity all you wish. I refuse to believe that your inner self is as composed as your expression suggests, thought Zhou Tingsha, a hint of dissatisfaction lingering in her mind. Chapter 298. The painter under Jiang Yuan. Unbeknownst to many, Jiang Yuan's heart remained a tranquil sea. This serenity was due to a message that had just arrived on his phone. Boss Jiang, the person has arrived. Conveniently, he was on a business trip in the capital, and we have brought him to you. The content of this brief message, though sparse, was imbued with an unmistakable air of humility and reverence. It was evident that the sender regarded Jiang Yuan with utmost deference. Upon reading the message, Jiang Yuan cast a satisfied glance and couldn't help but smile faintly. The efficiency displayed by these individuals was indeed commendable. He had only mentioned the matter in passing, and they had promptly taken care of it. As expected, within 10 minutes, the person arrived. Beside Jiang Yuan stood an elderly man, slightly over 50 years of age. Though his stature was not imposing, his mere presence evoked a sense of majesty akin to mountains and flowing water. His eyelids drooped slightly, and his countenance bore an indescribable sharpness. Upon closer inspection, one could discern an abyss of profundity within his gaze. He was neither tall nor short, neither overweight nor slim, neither unattractive nor handsome. Yet, anyone who met his eyes found themselves unable to divert their gaze even for a moment. He was ordinary, yet not commonplace. For reasons unknown, the previously self-satisfied Yin Tiansheng felt a suffocating pressure upon encountering this man. Who is he? Doubt and astonishment surged within him like a tempest. The essence of a person often encapsulates the books they have read and the paths they have trodden. A person possessing such extraordinary aura could not possibly be an inconsequential figure. Though Yin Tiansheng could not discern the true identity of the elderly man, the mere fact that he stood beside Jiang Yuan exuded an aura that instilled a profound sense of unease within him. He began to scrutinize Jiang Yuan with newfound seriousness, his interest in this enigmatic stranger intensifying. Zhou Tingsha also regarded the elderly man beside Jiang Yuan with a mixture of curiosity and intrigue. Indeed, the old man's exceptional demeanor shone through his seemingly ordinary Tang suit. Yet what captivated her most was the paintbrush he held in his hand. Whenever she found herself with leisure, she traveled across the country, seeking out renowned masters for observation and learning, often engaging in discussions with them. Clearly, this elderly man possessed remarkable skill, far beyond that of an ordinary painter, yet she had no inkling of who he was. Such circumstances typically presented two possibilities. Either the individual was merely a fade, a figure whose artistic prowess did not match their appearance, or they were reclusive, seasoned artist immersed in the world of art. Much like herself, a junior who would seldom cross paths with them. Which category does this man belong to? Zhou Tingsha pondered in confusion. She had just completed a remarkable piece of work and was in an extremely joyous mood. However, the sudden appearance of this elderly man abruptly tightened her heart. It was an instinct, a visceral reaction in the presence of a rival strikingly similar to herself. Chapter 299. Names unworthy of knowing. As the social gathering progressed into its second phase, it transformed into a stage where each participant displayed their unique talents. Akin to the 8 immortals crossing the sea, the attendees had long prepared their ace players, and it was not always one's own abilities that mattered when showcasing prowess. The ability to invite a leading figure from a particular domain undoubtedly reflected substantial strength. In fact, for some, the latter could evoke even greater awe than the former. Yin Tiansheng meticulously arranged for the invitation of the renowned artist Zhou Tingsha, believing firmly that victory was assured and that her brilliance would overshadow all competitors. He was well aware of Zhou Tingsha's unparalleled prowess, as profound and unfathomable as the vast ocean. Even her mere sketches could potentially eclipse her peers. Any artwork she casually created would likely fetch astronomical prices at auction, garnering the attention of esteemed individuals across various fields. At this moment, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation, and all eyes were fixated on Zhou Tingsha. However, the presence of an elderly gentleman in traditional attire, standing beside Jiang Yuan, imparted a sense of oppressive tension akin to a descent into an abyss. It was as if a proud hunting dog had encountered a solitary wolf in the depths of the mountains, instantly heightened alertness, sensing an imminent threat. Similarly, Yin Tiansheng instinctively felt a shift in the air. He had been captivated by Tang Xiaoyi's stunning beauty and had invited a master like Zhou Tingsha, brimming with confidence, believing he could easily gather the admiration of all present. Yet, the appearance of the elder beside Jiang Yuan seemed to alter the dynamics subtly. Even many ordinary attendees felt a twinge of unease upon seeing this elder. Who was he? His presence exuded an extraordinary aura that set him apart from the crowd. It appeared he was also an artist, yet he dared to paint in the shadow of Zhou Tingsha's brilliance. Did he possess immense confidence? Someone remarked that the elder seemed familiar, speculating about his identity. Jiang Yuan's lips moved slightly, uttering a few words, after which the elder respectfully inclined his head, obediently heeding Jiang Yuan's instructions. Speaking rapidly, upon completion, the elder smiled faintly, bowed slightly to Jiang Yuan, and then turned away, retrieving a piece of prepared rice paper. As he turned his back to Jiang Yuan, the smile on his face gradually faded. His eyes sparkled with intensity as he wielded his brush, executing strokes on the rice paper with a fluidity that left many art connoisseurs in awe. The composition he chose bore a striking resemblance to Zhou Tingsha's. Yet the final outcome was starkly different. Not only was the style more mature and the brushwork more refined, but there also lay an inexplicable spirit infused within the painting. Clearly, the disparity in their prowess was unmistakable. Zhou Tingsha, her expression grave, stepped forward and inquired, "Throughout my life, I have sought esteemed masters, yet I have never encountered one of your caliber. May I ask who you are?" The crowd was taken aback, astonished that Zhou Tingsha would address this nameless elder in such a manner. However, the elderly man in traditional attire remained unfazed, his brush gliding across the canvas as he replied coolly, "Your worth does not grant you the privilege of knowing my name." Chapter 300. Jiang Yuan's talented associates. Jiang Yuan stood with his arms crossed, a faint, enigmatic smile gracing his handsome features. His striking appearance naturally drew the attention of those around him, and with an added air of mystery, he stood out even more distinctly. Many young women could not help but cast admiring glances in his direction. Yin Tianqing, too, found herself momentarily entranced. Amidst the lively atmosphere of the gathering, Jiang Yuan's gaze, seemingly all-seeing, radiated an undeniable charm that stirred something within her heart. The astonishment in the eyes of others as they beheld him was palpable. The elderly gentleman clad in traditional Tang attire, with remarkable skill, had effortlessly sketched the outline of a breathtaking piece of art with an unremarkable brush. Even Zhou Tingsha, usually confident, found herself compelled to inquire about his name, only to be met with a resolute refusal. Such high standards and arrogant demeanor were rare indeed. Yet, everyone present felt no sense of discontent toward him. True, he was young and brimming with vitality, but who decreed that youthful exuberance must accompany youth? The world has always revered strength, particularly in the realm of artistry, where many esteemed masters possess distinct personalities. Remarkably, this extraordinary figure, under Jiang Yuan's mere instruction, poured his heart and soul into completing the artwork. The elder's expression was grave, each stroke of his brush executed with utmost diligence, as if facing a formidable adversary. His demeanor suggested he was yielding to an undeniable authority. Who could this young man be, that even such an esteemed elder would heed his every command? The elder, dismissive of Zhou Tingsha, was nonetheless entirely obedient to Jiang Yuan. "Look, he is nearing completion. My goodness!" Gasps of astonishment filled the air. The painting depicted the Tang sisters, mirroring Zhou Tingsha's work in theme and subject. However, the elderly artist's interpretation bore a strikingly different effect. While Zhou Tingsha's technique dazzled with elaborate strokes, portraying the sisters as ethereal goddesses of unparalleled beauty, the elder's style was stark and primal, infused with a vibrant essence. Under his brush, the Tang sisters came alive, standing as two radiant beauties. Evidently, his artistry had reached an extraordinary zenith, embodying a return to authenticity. In comparison, Zhou Tingsha's work fell several tiers short, the distinction and skill unmistakable. Tang Xiaoyi gazed at the painting of herself, her heart swelling with delight. Simultaneously, her admiration for Jiang Yuan deepened. Brother Jiang Yuan's associates are truly exceptional. This elderly man alone possesses such extraordinary talent. Jiang Yuan, too, felt satisfied with the painting, his spirit enveloped in tranquility and contentment. In stark contrast, Yin Tiansheng and Zhou Tingsha wore expressions that betrayed their displeasure. Zhou Tingsha, once filled with pride and arrogance, was initially reluctant to include even a few strokes for Jiang Yuan in the painting. However, after witnessing the remarkable skills of the elderly gentleman in Tang attire under Jiang Yuan's guidance, she could not help but feel a pang of regret in her heart. Her remorse stemmed from her earlier obstinacy, as her adherence to her unconventional principles had led her to underestimate Jiang Yuan. Chapter 301. A turn of events. Jiang Yuan's gaze flickered slightly as he observed the astonishment of those present, feeling a profound sense of satisfaction with the outcome. After all, he had been entrusted by the matriarch to prevent Tang Xiaoyi from falling victim to Tang Long's scheme of marrying her off. He had pondered this dilemma and, in a moment of inspiration, realized that if he could overshadow everyone else, there would be no room for their interference. This was akin to a news report he had seen about a formidable trio of competitors who encountered some thugs. Initially intending to mediate peacefully, one of them suddenly thought that if they could simply overpower the thugs, all would be well. Such a straightforward and forceful approach was indeed brilliant, and Jiang Yuan felt quite pleased with himself. However, his actions had undoubtedly provoked Yin Tiansheng to a boiling point. After painstakingly finding the opportunity to bring Zhou Tingsha into the limelight, he was unceremoniously subdued. This was undeniably a blow to his pride, especially as he witnessed the admiration in Tang Xiaoyi's eyes directed at Jiang Yuan. His heart felt as though it were being sliced by a knife. At that moment, Tang Xiaoyi's beautiful eyes sparkled with adoration, flitting between the exquisite sketch created by the elderly gentleman in traditional attire and Jiang Yuan. Her delight palpable as if she had savored honey, despite being a woman, and an exceedingly beautiful one at that. Tang Xiaoyi was acutely aware that she would eventually succumb to the ravages of time. Yet, the allure of capturing her youthful charm in another form was undeniably enticing. This was precisely why many women opt to engage renowned photographers to immortalize their youth through a series of commemorative photographs. While this may be perplexing to men, women continue to pursue such endeavors with enthusiasm. The sketch before her was undoubtedly a superb medium for such preservation. Although Tang Xiaoyi had been somewhat sheltered from the world due to her prolonged illness, it did not imply a lack of intelligence. On the contrary, her doe-like eyes often shimmered with wit and cunning, and she understood the value of the elderly gentleman's artistry beside Jiang Yuan. Curiosity piqued. She cautiously approached Jiang Yuan and whispered, "Brother Jiang Yuan, who is he? How do you know such an extraordinary elder?" Tang Qinshin, equally curious, joined Jiang Yuan's side. Captivated by the exquisite and remarkable sketch, Jiang Yuan smiled and began to respond, "He is from my company." Before he could finish his sentence, a piercing scream from a woman echoed through the air. Someone has collapsed. Call for an ambulance." Jiang Yuan's brow furrowed slightly as he turned toward the source of the commotion, only to discover a figure convulsing on the ground. Upon closer inspection, he realized it was none other than Zhou Tingsha. The once poised and graceful woman now appeared to be stricken by an ailment, clutching her chest and trembling uncontrollably. Jiang Yuan possessed a keen sense of observation and noticed several red welts emerging on her arm. Tang Xiaoyi, startled by this sudden occurrence, quickly grasped Jiang Yuan's hand. However, Yin Tianxing's eyes lit up, and he promptly declared, "Everyone, remain calm. We have a medical team available for treatment." Chapter 302. The anxious Yin Tianxing. The sudden turn of events plunged the scene into chaos. After all, just moments ago, the seemingly healthy Zhou Tingsha lay on the ground, writhing in a fit, her body covered in ominous red welts. This alarming spectacle would instill a chill in the hearts of any onlooker. Moreover, what if this affliction were contagious? Many in the crowd shared this unspoken fear, causing them to instinctively distance themselves from her. In an instant, she appeared solitary and isolated amidst the gathering. Anxiety gripped the hearts of onlookers, who were utterly perplexed by the sudden deterioration of the once vibrant Miss Zhou. However, Yin Tianxing's loud proclamation of having a medical team alleviated some of the tension, redirecting everyone's focus onto him. With a sweeping gesture, 3 blonde, blue-eyed foreigners emerged from the throng, clad in white coats and wielding professional instruments. Their demeanor was unervingly composed, as if they were accustomed to the brink of life and death, displaying an indifference towards the plight of patients. These esteemed doctors were specially invited from abroad by my father. Each graduated from the world's top 10 medical universities and possesses over a decade of invaluable practical experience. Yin Tianxing remarked with a subtle smile. With their presence, I am confident that Miss Zhou will be just fine. The crowd collectively exhaled, reassured by the presence of medical professionals, understanding that life-threatening issues were unlikely to arise. After all, an untimely demise at a social gathering would be exceedingly distressing. The 3 foreign doctors, clad in their white coats, exuded a calm and collected aura as they commenced a preliminary diagnosis of Zhou Tingsha. Tang Qinshin and Tang Xiaoyi watched anxiously, for no one wished to witness a life extinguished before their eyes, particularly after Miss Zhou had just painted a portrait for them. The doctor's movements were swift, conducting examinations of her eyelids and the welts, and proceeding with blood tests. Yet, as time wore on, they failed to arrive at any initial conclusions. "Brother Jiang Yuan, do you sense something amiss with those foreigners?" whispered Tang Xiaoyi, leaning towards Jiang Yuan. "They seem hesitant." Jiang Yuan nodded, having also discerned their discomfort. It was evident that the 3 doctors harbored an unspoken dilemma. They seemed to possess a preliminary diagnosis, yet were reluctant to voice it. As the crowd's patience waned, growing increasingly impatient after approximately 10 minutes without any basic diagnostic results, Yin Tianxing's own anxiety escalated. He had been the one to assert the stability of this medical team just moments ago. Should any mishap occur, he would undoubtedly bear the blame. He hastened to the side of the three foreign doctors and urged, "What is the outcome? Do speak up. Do you think I am unable to afford the medical expenses?" Chapter 303. The helpless doctor. The three foreign doctors remained silent, two of them avoiding eye contact, while the one in charge eventually spoke in a tone laden with regret. "I'm deeply sorry, Mr. Een. This young lady appears to suffer from a genetically inherited skin condition, a conundrum that modern medicine finds nearly insurmountable. Even a consultation with the foremost 10 medical experts may yield no results. This situation far exceeds our capabilities, and we are powerless to assist." Upon hearing this, Een Tiansheng felt a chill wash over him. Zhou Tingsha's parents and her teacher were formidable individuals. Should anything happen to her today, he would undoubtedly bear the blame. Furrowing his brows, he spoke in a tense whisper. "Have you made a mistake? I just informed them that your expertise is exceptional, and that there was no need to call an ambulance. Now, after all this time, you present me with such a conclusion. How am I to explain this to them?" The three foreign doctors exchanged glances, their expressions tinged with displeasure. This rare skin disease was indeed a monumental challenge in the medical field, and it was unreasonable to place the blame on them for the impatience and lofty expectations of others. Had it been anyone else, they would have refuted him outright. However, considering Een Tiansheng's background, they restrained their irritation and said, "Mr. Een, please take this patient to a hospital immediately. Otherwise, the consequences could be dire." Fury simmered within Een Tiansheng as he cast a glance at the Tang sisters nearby, feeling a flush of embarrassment. He had intended to make a display of his capabilities, but instead found himself unable to deliver anything of substance. Now, he was left with no choice but to acknowledge his impotence before the crowd, which was exceedingly humiliating. Just as he hesitated, preparing to speak, a black custom sedan came to a halt outside. This vehicle, though not from any renowned luxury brand, boasted a design and features that were extraordinary, typically reserved for individuals of remarkable status. From the car emerged a couple and a middle-aged man clad in a white coat. The security guards initially considered intervening, but upon noticing a uniquely shaped star emblem on the sedan, their expressions shifted dramatically. "Zhou Ziyang. He is the international trade magnate? How could such a person be here? Ah, it was rumored that a guest today also bore the surname Zhou. Perhaps he had come to visit a promising prodigy." The couple, Zhou Ziyang and his wife, moved with urgency and quickly entered the inner hall. Upon seeing Zhou Tingsha, pale and unconscious, their expressions changed instantly. The identities of the unexpectedly arrived couple were soon recognized by several individuals present. Tang Xiaoi gasped in astonishment. "Zhou Ziyang. That is the international trade tycoon Zhou Ziyang. What brings him here?" Jiang Yuan could not help but cast a glance at the suddenly arrived couple. He had long been familiar with the name of Zhou Ziyang. In earlier years, seemed to grace television screens and prominent media reports almost every few days. However, rumors suggested that Zhou Ziyang had recently encountered unforeseen circumstances, prompting him to embrace a life of discretion. Consequently, news regarding him had significantly diminished over the past few years. The arrival of this individual stirred something within Jiang Yuan. Chapter 304. Equal standing. Regarding Zhou Ziyang, Jiang Yuan felt a modicum of intrigue. Perhaps this individual could assist him with his forthcoming endeavors. However, he refrained from haste, choosing instead to patiently observe the man before him. Zhou Ziyang was not particularly tall, standing at approximately 1.70 meters, yet he exuded an air of competence and authority, characterized by a certain dominance and sharpness. Such a demeanor is typically cultivated by those who have shouldered the responsibilities of leadership over time. Has Tingsha's issue not yet been resolved? Zhou Ziyang's brow furrowed slightly. The doctor beside him, clad in a white coat, shook his head and replied, "Miss Zhou's hereditary condition is indeed rare. While our institution's physicians have managed to alleviate even obscure dermatological ailments like cholinergic urticaria, we currently lack any case samples for this particular illness." Upon hearing this, Zhou Ziyang surveyed the surroundings with an air of dissatisfaction. If Tingsha had not attended this trivial gathering, how could she have inexplicably fallen ill? It seems that you all must bear the primary responsibility for this. Deep down, he understood the complexity of the ailment, recognizing that the medical community, both domestically and internationally, was at a loss. Thus, he redirected his ire towards those around him. The individuals present felt a jolt of anxiety at his words, their faces betraying an unsettling apprehension. Zhou Ziyang was known for his ruthless and domineering approach, and it was clear he was not inclined to reason. He intended to mete out some measure of discomfort to those beneath him. Is it not possible to treat Tingsha's illness? Then perhaps you could remedy these younger individuals? Yin Tiansheng, sensing the tension, offered a nervous smile, attempting to explain, Mr. Zhou, the reason I invited Ting Sha today is because he quickly formulated a rationale to deflect blame. However, before he could finish, Zhou Ziang interrupted with an irritable snort. Indeed, Ting Sha was brought here by someone of your dubious caliber. Since you have voluntarily acknowledged this, you might as well deliver yourself 10 slaps. Zhou Ziang's cold decree left no room for negotiation. He did not even spare Yin Tiansheng a glance. After all, despite the Yin family's influence and wealth, they failed to capture his esteem. To Zhou Ziang, encountering an ant on the road was inconsequential. Yin Tiansheng's complexion turned a shade akin to liver, and he yearned to protest. Yet, recalling the various rumors surrounding Zhou Ziang, he steeled himself to comply. Slap, slap, slap. He delivered 10 respectful slaps, bowing deeply before Zhou Ziang. Your attitude is acceptable, Zhou Ziang remarked without lifting his gaze, the essence of a formidable leader becoming increasingly evident. Now be gone. Yin Tiansheng hastily nodded and retreated to a corner. The atmosphere grew tense, and the surrounding individuals began to panic. Even the previously defiant members of the Yin family resembled chastened hounds, fearful of Zhou Ziang's unpredictable wrath and uncertain of how he might further torment them. As the room fell into an oppressive silence, awaiting the next command from this formidable figure, another man approached Zhou Ziang with a leisurely demeanor and calmly took a seat beside him. He resembled a longtime friend of Zhou Ziang, as he simply greeted him with a smile, establishing an equal rapport. Those around them almost believed their eyes were deceiving them, until Tang Xiaoi couldn't help but exclaim, prompting everyone to regain their composure. The man in question was none other than Jiang Yuan. Chapter 305. Conspiring ambitions. Jiang Yuan's audacious actions nearly terrified those present. Zhou Ziang's ruthless demeanor and malicious intent were akin to a ferocious beast lurking in the mountains, instilling fear in all. Even someone like Yin Tiansheng had to retract his claws in the face of such ferocity. A vicious wolf appears as a docile stray dog when confronted by a true tiger. Yet, Jiang Yuan stood his ground, exuding an air of composure, as if facing an old acquaintance of equal standing. Zhou Ziang raised an eyebrow, and before he could speak, the woman beside him darkened her expression and chastised. Who is this young upstart to be so disrespectful? Do you even know who you are addressing? Jiang Yuan offered no reply, barely glancing in her direction, instead savoring a sip of fragrant tea with a subtle smile. His demeanor silently conveyed the message. You are unworthy of my attention. He then turned to Zhou Ziang and remarked, Mr. Zhou, your dog seems a bit too vocal. This hardly reflects proper hospitality. The surrounding guests were taken aback, their legs feeling weak as they gasped internally, fearing the repercussions of such audacity. Such insolence could only be seen as a blatant provocation. Even Yin Tiansheng felt a chill, despite his disdain for Jiang Yuan. He had never expected Jiang Yuan to dare challenge such a formidable figure. Cursing himself, he thought, I should have left long ago. This could spell disaster for me. The woman's expression darkened at Jiang Yuan's near insult, and she prepared to rebuke him, but Zhou Ziang subtly raised a hand to halt her. Little brother, may I ask your name? Zhou Ziang's interest in Jiang Yuan piqued. It had been years since he had encountered someone so audacious. Typically, such boldness stemmed from either reckless youth or an extraordinary background. Observing Jiang Yuan's well-defined features and tranquil demeanor, he surmised he was not the former. Jiang Yuan, he replied with a smile. Upon hearing the name, silence fell upon Zhou Ziang. So it is you, he said, his brow furrowing momentarily before relaxing. You dare to stir trouble at the gathering of the 4 great families. You must be extraordinarily bold. I should have anticipated your involvement. Jiang Yuan, intrigued, responded, Mr. Zhou, your sources of information are quite extensive. I had heard you were disinterested in worldly affairs, yet you seem aware of my reputation. Zhou Ziang sighed and waved his hand. Young man, what brings you here? I wish to propose a collaboration. Collaboration? Huh. I have refrained from such endeavors for many years and seldom venture out. What if the circumstances are extraordinary? Extraordinary? To what extent? What is your objective in partnering with me? Jiang Yuan leaned closer and whispered, to devour the 4 great families, treating them as mere lambs to the slaughter. At these words, Zhou Ziang's expression changed dramatically. Is this truly your intention? Indeed it is. How can I instill in you a sense of belief? Naturally, I possess means to earn your trust. Zhou Ziang's expression fluctuated between various emotions for a moment. Ultimately, he clenched his teeth and promptly stood up, requesting Jiang Yuan to accompany him to a secluded spot for a private conversation. Meanwhile, the surrounding guests, with the exception of the Tang sisters, could hardly conceal their astonishment as they observed Jiang Yuan and Zhou Ziang depart from their original position. How could this young man stand on equal footing with Zhou Ziang? Why did they leave so abruptly? Was there something that required confidential discussion? This young individual is truly remarkable. Chapter 306, Codename. The hand of God. Jiang Yuan sat calmly, gently caressing his phone, embodying an air of leisure. In stark contrast, Zhou Ziang was anything but tranquil. His emotions roiled within him like a volcano poised to erupt. The four great families of the capital. Years ago, a conflict with these formidable clans had compelled him to conceal his brilliance and adopt a low profile. Now, Jiang Yuan audaciously proclaimed his intention to collaborate with Zhou in the endeavor of dismantling these powerful families. How could this not stir a tempest of emotions within him? Moreover, the wealth of the four great families was so immense that even the most lavish comparisons fell short. To conquer them, or even to claim a mere fraction, would be an unimaginable fortune. Yet, as the initial fervor subsided, doubts crept into Zhou's mind as he scrutinized Jiang Yuan. Did he truly intend to pursue this course? What plans did he harbor, or what abilities did he possess to realize such ambitions? Jiang Yuan chuckled, understanding Zhou's agitated tone. After all, the proposition was indeed extraordinary. The four great families stood at the zenith of power, akin to four blazing suns in the sky. Only a force as mighty as Ho Yi shooting down the suns could hope to dislodge these prominent figures from their lofty perches. My plan, Jiang Yuan declared, is called the Hand of God. The Hand of God? Zhou Ziang inquired, astonished. Why such a name? Jiang Yuan scoffed lightly. Do not those foreigners revere God? What is God's role? It is to wield dominion over life and death. And I possess precisely the medical prowess to manipulate life and death. My scheme is to use patented medical advancements as bait, enticing these four great fish to bite. Zhou Ziang felt a buzzing in his ears, struggling to fathom the enormity of Jiang Yuan's words. The notion of possessing life and death medical capabilities was staggering. If true, it might indeed present a genuine opportunity. After all, the value that modern medicine can yield in this century is overwhelmingly lucrative, a temptation no one could resist. He marveled, in any era, as long as there are lives to be saved, the profession of medicine will endure. Yet, regrettably, despite the advancements in modern medicine, there are no miracle cures for many common ailments. Even the simplest cold lacks a definitive remedy. The astronomical sums pharmaceutical companies invest in medical research each year often take years, if not decades, to yield results. If Jiang Yuan speaks the truth, he undoubtedly possesses the means to ensnare the four great families. But do you truly possess such capabilities? Zhou Ziang could not help but ask. His skepticism was not born of disbelief in Jiang Yuan, but rather from the sheer improbability of such claims. Jiang Yuan smiled, rising to approach Zhou Tingsha's resting place. She remained in a semi-conscious state, murmuring softly, her hands moving involuntarily as if engaged in a dance. She is ensnared in a nightmare, an exceedingly terrifying reverie. The congenital skin affliction she endures has left her psyche deeply scarred. During the flare-ups of her condition, it feels as though countless sharp blades are mercilessly slicing through her flesh. In this moment of slumber, she finds herself as if trapped in the depths of hell. Witnessing her torment, Jiang Yuan immediately prepares to offer his healing touch. Zhou Ziang furrows his brow and states, even those foreign physicians have been unable to remedy this hereditary skin ailment. Do you truly wish to attempt the impossible? Chapter 307. The astonishment of Zhou Ziang. Jiang Yuan remained silent, gradually raising his right hand to press upon her acupoints, the Blood Sea, Tai Shi, and Xingjian. Each of these points possesses the remarkable ability to regulate blood circulation, invigorate the flow of vital energy, dispel wind, and alleviate itching. His fingers moved with unparalleled dexterity, akin to a seasoned warrior wielding his weapon against the afflictions of illness. In a state between slumber and wakefulness, Zhou Tingsha felt a warm sensation envelop her entire being, as if a ray of redemptive light had descended from the depths of hell, soothing all her torment. The intense itching that had previously plagued her was significantly alleviated. Indeed, Jiang Yuan had activated his template skill card, exchanging it for a divine-level medical technique. After careful consideration, he determined that the exchange of this skill card for medical knowledge was undoubtedly the most cost-effective choice. In the journey of life, one grapples with the duality of existence, life and death. The acquisition of this skill card was not merely advantageous. It was a substantial gain. Medicine, in any era, undoubtedly ranks among the foremost of esteemed disciplines. Mastering this knowledge would undoubtedly grant him considerable leverage in his forthcoming endeavors to assimilate the four great families. After all, the feeling of being subjugated is far from pleasant, especially when one like Tang Long dares to conspire against him, an intolerable affront. Among the remaining three families, it is not just enemies he must contend with. Even those who feign goodwill may one day betray him for the sake of profit. The world is rife with opportunism. Individuals are often driven by self-interest. Jiang Yuan understood this deeply. Only by possessing sufficient leverage could he ensure that friends remained steadfast. Thus, this medical skill exchange was a meticulously considered decision, one that would yield innumerable benefits while posing no detriment to his plans of consolidating the four great families. Once he resolves the issues with these families, he longs to retreat to a tranquil city for a respite, perhaps taking Yao Wenwen's sister along for a rejuvenating holiday. Engaging in the pursuit of cultivation, Jiang Yuan sighed inwardly. This trip to the capital had undeniably broadened his horizons, revealing the vast array of formidable figures that populate such a grand city. Yet, the more he traversed this world of fame and fortune, the more he yearned for the simplicity and charm of his former life. He had firmly resolved that after addressing the affairs of the four great families, he would indulge in some well-deserved relaxation. The remarkable efficacy of his techniques, coupled with the immediate transformation in Zhou Tingsha, sent Jiang Zhang's heart racing with excitement. What have you done? How was it that her suffering seems to have diminished so dramatically? Zhou Ziyang's voice trembled with exhilaration. He understood that this skin ailment was notoriously difficult to treat. Even the foreign doctors he had consulted had been at a loss. The complexity and rarity of this condition made it exceedingly challenging to develop a targeted remedy, a task that would rival the efforts of renowned pharmaceutical companies investing decades and billions into research. Could it be that she has been cured so effortlessly, so simply? Zhou Ziyang's heart raced uncontrollably. He gazed at Jiang Yuan with a look of sheer astonishment, as if beholding a creature that ought not to exist. Of course, it was not so simple. I merely alleviated her discomfort for the time being. Jiang Yuan shook his head. Chapter 308. Celebrating cooperation, I turned back to prepare some medication for her. That should suffice. Hearing Jiang Yuan's dismissive tone eased Zhou Ziyang's previously anxious heart. Indeed, there are numerous methods to alleviate itching and an array of remedies to alleviate the condition. However, Jiang Yuan's words clearly indicated that he possessed a solution for the root cause of the issue. The distinction between temporarily alleviating a condition and curing it entirely is profound. The medical skills Jiang Yuan showcased in such a short span of time had an immediate and remarkable effect on Zhou Tingsha, undoubtedly bolstering Zhou Ziyang's confidence. After all, when Jiang Yuan first proposed to annex the four prominent families, Zhou Ziyang harbored doubts and skepticism. Yet, witnessing Jiang Yuan's extraordinary capabilities firsthand shattered his preconceived notions and broadened his horizons. Zhou Tingsha's hereditary skin ailment, akin to a perplexing conundrum, was effortlessly unraveled under Jiang Yuan's expertise. Clearly, he may possess genuine confidence in the plan to amalgamate the four families, rather than merely making empty boasts. If this endeavor were to materialize, it would not only serve as retribution for past grievances, but could also pave the way for extraordinary success. This was undoubtedly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and the architect of this opportunity was none other than the dashing young man before him. Upon reflecting on this, Zhou Ziyang's eyes sparkled with fervor, gazing intently at Jiang Yuan. His gaze was so intense, akin to a famished wanderer who had not eaten for days, spotting a delectable, soft loaf of bread. Jiang Yuan, feeling somewhat uncomfortable under Zhou Ziyang's fervent scrutiny, thought to himself, what is he up to? This gaze from Zhou Ziyang struck Jiang Yuan as rather impolite. Yet he could empathize. Anyone witnessing his remarkable talents and the tantalizing rewards that awaited upon the successful execution of the plan would likely exhibit a similar fervent gaze. Realizing his slight indiscretion, Zhou Ziyang promptly shifted the topic. Mr. Jiang. Oh no, Brother Jiang. It seems your voice suggests you are not from around here. Indeed, I hail from a southern city, Jiang Yuan replied. Zhou Ziyang immediately responded. The southern city is a splendid place. A brother of mine hails from there, and according to him, it is a land of remarkable talents and beauty. Meeting you today has truly opened my eyes. He then continued, however, despite the southern city's charm, there are certain aspects in which it pales in comparison to our capital. As you are new here, allow me to personally arrange a unique banquet for you. I can fulfill any request you may have. Understanding the underlying motives behind Zhou Zhang's elaborate conversation, Jiang Yuan recognized that he merely sought to ingratiate himself, intending to present gifts under the guise of hosting a banquet. Coincidentally, Jiang Yuan also had certain desires, which could be more readily fulfilled through the channels of this international trade magnate. I do not require anything else, but shortly I shall provide you with a prescription. I implore you to assist me in procuring it. Some of the medicinal herbs are now nearly extinct in our country and can only be found in a few remote nations, Jiang Yuan stated softly. Although Zhou Ziyang did not comprehend Jiang Yuan's intentions, he recognized that Jiang Yuan was both his benefactor and the one who could aid him in his quest for vengeance. Thus, he could not dare to refuse his request. Very well, I shall do my utmost to fulfill this task for you, Zhou Zhang vowed earnestly. Chapter 309. The purpose behind Jiang Yuan's request for specific medicinal herbs was straightforward: to concoct a unique potion capable of awakening dormant memories. The last encounter with that enigmatic woman, who insisted she knew him, left him with no recollection of her whatsoever. This perplexing situation undoubtedly piqued Jiang Yuan's profound interest. In truth, he had already discreetly dispatched individuals to investigate aspects of his past, uncovering that during his childhood he had ingested substances akin to beta blockers, which had obscured certain memories. Consequently, a significant portion of his childhood recollections remained shrouded in obscurity. Perhaps that mysterious woman was someone from that era who had crossed paths with him. Just wait a moment. Once I acquire these herbs, I shall surely revive my long-buried memories, and the truth shall be unveiled, Jiang Yuan mused. His feelings towards this enigmatic woman were not merely curiosity, but also an inexplicable thrill. The identity of this puzzling figure would soon be revealed. He extended his right hand and meticulously inscribed an intricate list of herbs, presenting it to Zhou Ziyang. Initially, Zhou Ziyang dismissed the request lightly, but upon glancing at the prescription, his expression shifted dramatically. These herbs, they are exclusively found in obscure, distant nations, and some even require a certain maturation period. Gathering these will undoubtedly take considerable time, Zhou Ziyang thought with a wry smile. To be candid, were it not for my extensive experience in international trade and the unique channels I possess, acquiring these herbs would border on the fantastical, he remarked. Jiang Yuan, upon hearing the latter part of his statement, felt skeptical. Merchants often speak in grand terms, inflating the complexity of matters to highlight their own importance. However, the black-clad girl beside Zhou Ziyang, unable to suppress her thoughts, interjected, "The items on this list are quite peculiar. For instance, this safflower can only be harvested in the scorching, untouched subtropical environments. Even our country's pharmacopoeia does not document it. Were it not for our prior ventures in these exceedingly remote regions, this list would be rendered worthless." Her words trailed off abruptly as Zhou Ziyang admonished her, "Wei Wei, refrain from speaking so carelessly." This was the first instance of Zhou Ziyang addressing her in such a tone, leaving Wei Wei momentarily stunned and deeply saddened. She had always been cherished and coddled by him, never having received a raised voice. Yet today, he had spoken so sternly to her, all for the sake of this unknown youth, Jiang Yuan. Being youthful and still impressionable, she could not help but sulk, huffing in discontent before choosing to storm away in a huff. "My apologies. This is my goddaughter, who tends to involve herself excessively in my business affairs. It is only natural for her to speak out of turn, given her youth and inexperience. Please do not take it to heart," Zhou Ziyang said, his face filled with remorse. He could not afford to offend Jiang Yuan, who had already demonstrated his formidable prowess. Indeed, the impending plan to assimilate the four prominent families relied heavily on Jiang Yuan's capabilities. Chapter 310. The eve of the banquet, Jiang Yuan nodded slightly, not giving it much thought. However, the young girl named Wei Wei, clad in black, possessed an impressive figure and countenance that could rival even the renowned Tang sisters. Yet, her straightforward nature set her apart, piquing Jiang Yuan's interest. After all, most of the women he had encountered since his debut were mature, wise, and cunning. It was rare for him to meet someone as candid and genuine as her, especially in this era of information overload, where such personalities have become increasingly scarce. The most striking aspect was her beauty and physique, radiating a refreshing and vibrant charm. This allure of character was undeniably captivating, stirring a sense of affection within him. Zhou Ziyang, having navigated the complexities of life for many years, was astute enough to discern Jiang Yuan's demeanor and surmise his thoughts. Were it anyone else daring to harbor intentions toward his cherished daughter, he would have sternly reprimanded them. Yet, Jiang Yuan was different. He was a benefactor in his quest for vengeance, and Zhou Ziang had already witnessed Jiang Yuan's capabilities. Such a valuable ally was worth any sacrifice to win his favor. With a swift calculation in his mind, Zhou Ziang took a deep breath and suggested, "Mr. Jiang, might we invite her to attend to you during the banquet tonight? As a gesture of our hospitality?" Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan paused momentarily, recalling that Zhou Ziang had mentioned he was a newcomer from Nancheng, eager to extend his hospitality. Zhou Ziang's implication was clear. He sought to ingratiate himself with Jiang Yuan by introducing the girl named Wei Wei. In light of this, Jiang Yuan decided to graciously accept the offer with a smile. Zhou Zhang, relieved yet pained by Jiang Yuan's swift agreement, felt a pang in his heart. Truth be told, he harbored deep affection for the candid girl named Wei Wei, almost viewing her as his own. Years earlier, due to business-related troubles, he had suffered lingering afflictions, leaving him bereft of the prospect of having children. Wei Wei's presence had illuminated the twilight of his life, bringing a warmth akin to familial love. However, today, for the sake of vengeance, he reluctantly chose to sacrifice her. Perhaps it was not a true sacrifice. The young man Jiang Yuan had boundless prospects, and Wei Wei would not suffer in his company. He reassured himself that his actions were not overly cruel. Jiang Yuan smiled gently. His reasons for agreeing were quite simple. Firstly, he did not perceive himself as a paragon of purity and kindness, and thus did not resist such matters. Secondly, Zhou Ziang indeed held some significance for him. To refuse his initial gesture of goodwill would be excessively virtuous. One must understand that in the purest waters, no fish could thrive. There is wisdom in mingling with the world. Jiang, having been nurtured in an environment rich with experience from a young age, would naturally not commit such a trivial error. As for whether there will indeed be any subsequent developments with this girl named Wei Wei, that is of little consequence. A man must always prioritize his career and consider the larger picture. The other matters are merely embellishments of life. Chapter 311. Repeated reminders. Jiang Yuan returned to the side of the Tang sisters and informed them that he would be dining with Zhou Ziang that evening. What? Zhou Ziang is actually treating you? Tang Xiaoyi and Tang Chunxin involuntarily shuddered, their expressions betraying disbelief. Zhou Ziang was notorious for his eccentric personality, having once outright declined simultaneous invitations from two heads of the four prominent families, thus creating a rift between them. The world perceived him as a free-spirited individual, arrogant in his talents, and utterly incapable of engaging in such mundane gestures as inviting someone to dinner. However, Jiang Yuan's presence seemed to shatter this established norm. Why would Zhou Ziang host a banquet for you? Tang Xiaoyi's eyes sparkled with curiosity. And where does he intend to hold this feast? Jiang Yuan found her reaction somewhat peculiar, but replied, "It's just a simple dinner." He mentioned that it would be at Shishinfu. Shishinfu. Upon hearing this name, even a typically composed Tang Chunxin could not help but exclaim. The guests around them also displayed expressions of astonishment upon hearing the three syllables of Shishinfu. Shishinfu. Wasn't it renowned as a secret legend of the capital, a lavish venue accessible only to truly distinguished individuals? Could this claim possibly be true? I had always thought it was merely a fabrication spun by the common folk, yet there were often those who adamantly asserted they had dined there. Could it be that Jiang Yuan was about to accompany Zhou Ziang to Shishinfu? Jiang Yuan had not anticipated that casually mentioning a restaurant's name would elicit such bewilderment from so many. Glancing at the onlookers, he chose not to elaborate further and simply inquired, "Would you like to join me?" Tang Xiaoyi's eyes brightened, and she was about to agree, but then recalled certain matters. Lowering her head in embarrassment and shaking it gently, Jiang Yuan found her reaction intriguing. There was a mixture of youthful shyness and an indescribable joy. He casually asked, "What's wrong? Why the silence?" Tang Chunxin smiled softly and said, "There is an unwritten rule at Shishinfu. If one wishes to bring someone of the opposite sex, it must be a family member. I accompanied my father there once when I was very young, so I am somewhat familiar with the customs." Jiang Yuan suddenly understood. It was no wonder Zhou Ziang had chosen to host the banquet at Shishinfu. He clearly intended to introduce his goddaughter, Wei Wei, to him in this setting, deliberately selecting a place with such particular regulations. "Brother Jiang Yuan, it seems we cannot accompany you tonight," Tang Xiaoyi said apologetically. After all, the rules of a place like Shishinfu were stringent, and outsiders who dared to flout them could face unimaginable consequences. Curiously, Jiang Yuan asked, "What exactly is Shishinfu? Do you even feel apprehensive about it?" Tang Chunxin and Tang Xiaoyi simultaneously shook their heads, remarking, "This place is shrouded in mystery. The mastermind behind it possesses significant influence. Even many renowned entrepreneurs in our country dare not provoke Shishinfu." Our elders have always advised us to avoid any conflicts with them. The sisters exchanged a glance, then earnestly cautioned, Brother Jiang Yuan, you must remember our words. Jiang Yuan nodded in acknowledgement, responding, all right, I will. With reluctant gazes, they looked at Jiang Yuan once more and added, Brother Jiang Yuan, you must not cause any trouble at Shishanfu. Jiang Yuan, feeling helpless, replied, all right, I understand. Chapter 312. Tang Long's uneased Jiang Yuan listened to the incessant chatter of the two girls beside him, feeling a flicker of impatience within. Yet, he refrained from expressing any irritation towards them. After all, he was no naive youth, and it was evident that women tend to be excessively talkative and somewhat childish only when they care about the men they favor. In contrast, should they be indifferent to a man, their demeanor would likely be colder and more subdued than that of elderly individuals. Thus, despite feeling slightly overwhelmed by the noise, Jiang Yuan experienced no anger. Instead, a warm current of contentment flowed through him. For an ordinary person, receiving the attention of a goddess like Tang Qianxin would surely be a cause for ecstatic joy. The fact that he had garnered the affection of two lovely ladies was, indeed, a delightful fortune. After a lengthy exchange of pleasantries, the Tang sisters glanced at the darkening sky and reluctantly bid farewell to Jiang Yuan. Watching him board the special vehicle arranged by Zhou Ziang, Jiang Yuan, in turn, took out his phone and dialed Yao Wenwen's number. Since he was to bring family along, it was only natural to include his beloved housekeeper. In the past few days, he had been so preoccupied that he had unintentionally neglected her vibrant and charming presence. On the other end, Yao Wenwen was engaged in conversation with her sister when Jiang Yuan's call interrupted her. She playfully remarked, Boss, where had you been these past few days? Had you been living it up? Jiang Yuan couldn't help but chuckle at her teasing. Although his recent experiences were not particularly complicated, they were certainly not something that could be succinctly summarized. It seemed that this spirited girl had assumed he was lost in a realm of indulgence, forgetting about her, which was perhaps why her words carried a hint of jealousy. Enough of your nonsense. I have an address for you. Come here within half an hour, Jiang Yuan replied with a smile. Upon receiving Jiang Yuan's directive, Yao Wenwen immediately dropped her playful tone and responded earnestly, understood. I will be there shortly. Meanwhile, upon returning to the Tang residence, Tang Xiaoyi and Tang Qianxin were promptly summoned by Tang Long, who inquired meticulously about the day's events. Today had been a social gathering for Tang Xiaoyi, and Tang Long had prepared a list of potential suitors. However, when he learned that Jiang Yuan had accompanied Tang Xiaoyi, and that he had met with the matriarch the night before, it became apparent that these occurrences were no mere coincidence. Damn it, if that brat Jiang Yuan interferes with my plans. A cold glint flashed in Tang Long's eyes, instilling fear in those who met his gaze. After thoroughly questioning his daughter and Tang Xiaoyi, the information he received left him in a state of bewilderment. Zhou Ziang, how'd he come to be here? Tang Long furrowed his brow tightly. Although he was the head of the Tang family, he was acutely aware of Zhou Ziang's formidable capabilities. Yet, this very individual was preparing to extend a personal invitation to Jiang Yuan for a banquet. An inexplicable feeling of unease welled up within Tang Long, mingling confusion with a sense of impending dread. His intuition warned him that a significant upheaval was on the horizon. The root cause of it all may very well be linked to Jiang Yuan and Zhou Ziang. Regarding Jiang Yuan, Tang Long harbored an undeniable emotion within him, one that he was reluctant to acknowledge: astonishment. Chapter 313. The flesh of the Red Dragon Jiang Yuan was truly astonishing. Ever since his debut, all news about him had reached Tang Long's ears. Even without having seen him in person, it was sufficient for Tang Long to comprehend the remarkable nature of this young man, who consistently evoked feelings of surprise within him. However, whether this astonishment was one of delight or trepidation was another matter entirely. All right, I understand. You may leave now, Tang Long said, his annoyance evident as he waved his hand dismissively. Tang Chun and Tang Xiao exchanged a glance, and in an instant, they scurried away like mice fleeing from a cat's lair. Tang Long extinguished the lights in his room, enveloping himself in a tranquil darkness. After a prolonged silence, a faint sigh escaped his lips, tinged with a sense of confusion and regret. Meanwhile, Jiang Yuan found himself amidst a grand banquet, seated in a room adorned with exquisite antique decor. The surroundings exuded a deliberate retro charm, featuring lush pines and bamboo, alongside elegant poetry and paintings, paper lanterns, and ink brushes. Boss, this food heaven is truly magnificent. I doubt even our Swords King Manor could replicate such a perfect vintage ambience. Yao Wenwen exclaimed in admiration. She nestled closely beside Jiang Yuan, one arm entwined with his as she meticulously peeled lobster for him. On the dining table, exquisite lobsters flowed like fine wine, each more precious than the last. Yao Wenwen attended to the lobster meat with utmost care, fearful of any waste. Her discerning eye had already perceived that this variety of lobster was far superior to the ordinary blue lobsters available in the market. As Jiang Yuan scrolled through his phone, he opened his mouth to consume the morsel of lobster meat that Yao Wenwen offered. However, the pace at which she presented the delicacy began to slow. He couldn't help but chuckle at the sight of her forehead, glistening with delicate beads of sweat, resembling a captivating beauty who had just emerged from a refreshing bath, evoking both charm and sympathy. Relax, it's just lobster meat. If there's any waste, so be it, Jiang Yuan remarked with a light laugh. He believed that such ingredients need not be treated so scrupulously. Yet Yao Wenwen shook her head, visibly distressed. Boss, you don't understand. This lobster is exceptionally rare. I heard from my uncle, who deals in imported seafood, that this type only appears in the extreme northern seas. It's a premium red lobster. The water quality there is unique, resulting in meat that is not only succulent and fragrant, but also reputed to have longevity-enhancing properties. This single lobster must be worth an astronomical sum, Yao Wenwen explained earnestly. Jiang Yuan couldn't help but smile at her words. Such claims of longevity were often mere fabrications concocted by merchants to inflate the value of their goods. While it is true that some marine environments possess unique water qualities, who could guarantee that consuming such lobsters would indeed prolong life? Without scientific validation or data analysis, these assertions were nothing more than mere rumors. However, Yao Wenwen was particularly earnest, unwilling to let even a trace of the red dragon meat go to waste. Her eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as she exclaimed, Boss, this is truly a remarkable delicacy. Not a single morsel should be squandered, for consuming it will undoubtedly benefit your health. Observing her earnest demeanor, Jiang Yuan finally comprehended that her seriousness stemmed not from frugality, but rather from a genuine concern for her own well-being. Hoping to indulge in more of this exquisite red dragon meat. Chapter 314. The Celestial Dining Hall in the warmth of the moment. Jiang Yuan instinctively wrapped his arm around Yao Wenwen, smiling gently. You should have a bite too. Yao Wenwen immediately shook her head, replying, Boss, despite our playful banter, I am acutely aware of my position. Your status far surpasses mine. How could I possibly indulge in something so precious? Feigning a stern expression, Jiang Yuan stated gravely, Since you recognize my esteemed status, I command you to partake at once. Otherwise, it would be tantamount to defying my orders. A flicker of gratitude illuminated Yao Wenwen's eyes, for she understood that Jiang Yuan's insistence stemmed from his concern for her well-being. After a moment's hesitation, realizing how much he desired her to partake, she reluctantly obliged. She carefully tore a small piece of the crimson dragon meat and placed it in her mouth, instantly enveloped by an overwhelming aroma that blossomed on her palate, as if she were floating among the clouds. What a marvelous delicacy this crimson dragon meat is. No wonder it's said to possess life-extending properties. Yao Wenwen marveled at the exquisite dish before her. Jiang Yuan, observing the platter of lobster, also felt a glimmer of excitement. Since Zhou Ziyang was willing to present such a valuable offering, it was evident that this elderly gentleman truly recognized Jiang Yuan's capabilities and aspirations. His ambitions to assimilate the four great families appeared earnest. Otherwise, there would be no need for such overtures, especially by presenting such top-tier delicacies. Zhou Ziyang's intentions were laid bare. However, Jiang Yuan was already well aware of his motives and felt no surprise, choosing instead to savor the various culinary delights alongside Yao Wenwen. Meanwhile, not far away, Zhou Ziyang and his goddaughter, Wei Wei, observed Jiang Yuan intently. Wei Wei's brow furrowed deeply as she watched the intimacy between Jiang Yuan and Yao Wenwen, an involuntary flash of disdain and contempt crossing her features. Dad, he already has a girlfriend. Why would you want me to engage with him? Do you wish for me to disrupt someone else's relationship? I cannot do that. She harbored a strong aversion to chaotic romantic entanglements. Zhou Ziyang replied earnestly, Wei Wei, that individual is merely Jiang Yuan's subordinate. At our level, what harm is there in being slightly affectionate with a few subordinates? Wei Wei seethed with indignation. She loathed such matters above all else. Had it been anyone else, she would have retorted without hesitation. Yet, the person lecturing her was her father, who had shown her immense kindness. Despite her deep-seated resentment, she found it difficult to voice her feelings openly. Thus, she redirected her frustration toward Jiang Yuan. It's all his fault. Just because he possesses some charm and a few millennia of experience, he assumes all women should fawn over him. Wei Wei felt displeased. Nevertheless, being a dutiful daughter, she recognized Jiang Yuan's significance to her father and resolved not to create unnecessary conflict. With a slight turn of her eyes, a scheme began to form in her mind, one she intended to execute shortly to test her resolve. Vivi, this banquet is of utmost importance. You must not treat it lightly, Zhou Zhang said earnestly. I understand, father. I will heed your words, Vivi replied with a sweet smile, exuding an enchanting charm that could captivate anyone. Chapter 315. Vivi's arrogance. Jiang Yuan and Yao Wenwen joyfully indulged in exquisite delicacies, playfully bantering with one another. Yao Wenwen smiled lightly. Boss, this rare delicacy is quite pricey. It seems you are enjoying considerable prestige now. Otherwise, the host of today's banquet would hardly be so generous. Jiang Yuan teased. Perhaps they have brought forth such exquisite offerings specifically to impress you, a captivating beauty. Upon hearing his words, Yao Wenwen felt a flush of warmth on her cheeks. Though she recognized that Jiang Yuan was merely jesting, she found herself relishing this kind of playful banter, as a woman's beauty often flourishes in the admiration of those she cherishes. Your flattery is quite sweet, boss. I suspect you have charmed many a lady with your words. Yao Wenwen remarked, a hint of jealousy creeping into her tone. Women possess a remarkable capacity for imagination, particularly when it comes to the men they care about. At such moments, their thoughts become exquisitely delicate and sensitive, scrutinizing every word spoken by the man in question. I would never deceive you. I only speak the truth. Jiang Yuan replied with a light chuckle. Whether his words were truthful or not remained a mystery. However, it is often the case that women prefer sweet lies over harsh truths. This is not a matter of choice, but rather a singular inclination. Though Yao Wenwen was acutely aware that Jiang Yuan was merely flattering her, she could not help but feel an elation akin to tasting honey. She buried her face in laughter, her cheeks resembling ripe apples. She was not an innocent young girl, yet under Jiang Yuan's starry gaze and enchanting words, she found herself gradually succumbing to his charm. Just as the atmosphere radiated warmth and harmony, Vivi, clad in a sleek black evening gown, sauntered gracefully towards Jiang Yuan. Her eyes sparkled like stars, yet an undercurrent of a chilling storm brewed within, sending shivers down one's spine. Meanwhile, Zhou Zhang had excused himself just moments prior after raising 3 toasts to Jiang Yuan, wishing to facilitate a connection between his daughter Vivi and Jiang Yuan. Not wanting to be an unwelcome presence, Vivi's commanding aura instantly halted the movements of Jiang Yuan and Yao Wenwen, both turning their gazes towards her. You must be Jiang Yuan. It is a pleasure to meet you. You may call me Vivi, she said with a polite smile, albeit one that carried an unmistakable air of detachment, evoking a stark sense of coldness. Is this your girlfriend? She seems rather unremarkable. Your taste is quite ordinary. With a pointed finger, she indicated Yao Wenwen's face. Such actions and words were undoubtedly arrogant and rude. Having followed Zhou Zhang for many years, she held a disdain for girls of modest backgrounds. Her discerning eye easily identified such girls, relying solely on their demeanor. She was keenly aware that a person's aura often reflects the path they have traversed, and the disparity in poise between women of noble lineage and those from humble beginnings is often striking. Jiang Yuan furrowed her brows, feeling a tinge of displeasure at the insolence displayed by the other party. Yen Wenwen had been by her side for some time now, and a bond had begun to form between them. There was no room for an outsider to meddle. Jiang Yuan was on the verge of expressing her indignation when Yen Wenwen quickly tugged at her sleeve. Boss, she whispered urgently, since she is Zhou Zhang's goddaughter. There is no need for you to confront her on my behalf. I implore you, if my presence causes any disruption to your affairs, I would feel deeply remorseful. Yen Wenwen pleaded softly. Chapter 316. The overlooked Wei Wei. Jiang Yuan raised an eyebrow. Although Yao Wenwen meant well and was reluctant to impede his affairs, he felt it necessary to assert himself. She is my subordinate, and your opinions are unwarranted, Jiang Yuan replied with a hint of coldness. Since you have come to dine, please sit quietly and enjoy your meal. Those familiar with Jiang Yuan knew him to be a naturally affable man with a sunny disposition. However, should anyone exhibit excessive rudeness, he would reveal this tone when displeased. Wei Wei arched her brow, surprised by Jiang Yuan's directness. She had assumed that since he collaborated with her father, he would adopt a more accommodating, even obsequious stance towards her. To her astonishment, Jiang Yuan demonstrated a resolute protectiveness, swiftly countering her remark about his subordinate. This man possesses a sense of loyalty and integrity, treating his own with commendable respect. He dares to confront me directly, suggesting I may have underestimated him. Wei Wei unwittingly regarded Jiang Yuan with newfound admiration. Though she prided herself on her status and looked down on Yao Wenwen, an ordinary girl of humble origins, she held even less respect for those who ingratiated themselves for power. Could it be that he seeks to draw my attention deliberately? It seemed a plausible scenario. Wei Wei, accustomed to men vying for connections with Zhou Xiang, found most harbored ulterior motives. After all, throughout history, marriage has often served as a straightforward means to gain favor. She had grown accustomed to scrutinizing the intentions of any man who expressed interest in her. However, contrary to her expectations, she soon realized her assumptions were profoundly mistaken. Upon taking her seat, she intended to maintain an air of restraint, anticipating Jiang Yuan would initiate conversation. After all, she was accustomed to a passive role, as most men typically sought to engage her first. Yet, Jiang Yuan defied convention. After she settled, he left her quite aside. Wenwen, how is your sister faring these days? He inquired. She is probably feeling a bit down. She had planned to visit and meet some esteemed figures in the medical field, but it seems they offered her no opportunity at all. An esteemed medical figure? Ah, I recall she is an ambitious medical student. Yet as a mere girl, she has little reason to expect easy access to such busy individuals. In contrast, Jiang Yuan and Yao Wenwen continued their lively banter, leaving Wei Wei feeling somewhat humiliated. After a few pleasantries, Yao Wenwen leaned closer to Jiang Yuan and whispered, "This girl is, after all, the daughter of your collaborator. It may not reflect well on you to disregard her." Jiang Yuan harbored a sense of skepticism within, as his impression of Wei Wei had significantly diminished at this moment. Her disdainful attitude towards Yao Wenwen had already made Jiang Yuan reluctant to engage with her. One's origins are beyond one's control. Yet, there are those who choose to assess an individual solely based on their background. Such a perspective is undoubtedly one that Jiang Yuan finds quite distasteful. Chapter 317. Teams we support. Vivi felt a flicker of irritation. Jiang Yuan's arrogance was rather excessive, daring to disregard her presence entirely. It is essential to recognize that she has always been the focal point of attention in any setting, and never before had anyone dared to overlook her. An astute man once remarked that the best way to make a woman despise you is to ignore her. This saying holds profound truth, and at this moment, Vivi yearned to teach Jiang Yuan a lesson. However, just as she was about to say something, a butler clad in a black suit approached, his demeanor respectful as he spoke. "Miss, the matter you instructed me on has been attended to. We have placed our bet on Team E for the grand prize contest." Upon hearing this, Vivi's heart swelled with joy, momentarily diverting her attention from Jiang Yuan as she eagerly engaged the butler in detailed conversation about the contest. The thought of her chosen team, soon to take the stage at the World Championship, ignited a fierce passion within her. Meanwhile, Jiang Yuan, who had been animatedly chatting with Yao Wenwen, momentarily paused, taken aback by the butler's words. The grand prize contest referred to the wildly popular finals of the gaming world, where 16 teams would compete, ultimately crowning a champion. Those who successfully placed their bets would be rewarded with bountiful prizes. Jiang Yuan was well aware of this, as the organizing body of the competition was none other than his own company, Yuan Mei. To his surprise, this woman also followed the World Championship, yet she supported Team E, the sworn rival of his favorite team, R. Jiang Yuan mused. Team E and Team R were both distinguished in their respective styles. One was aggressive, akin to a ravenous wolf, ready to exploit any weakness in their opponents, while the other favored a more traditional, steady approach. The ongoing World Championship wielded immense influence within Long Country, with almost every young person aware of the event. Jiang Yuan was not particularly surprised by Vivi's enthusiasm for the championship, but what she did not realize was that not only was the event organized by his company, but the very game itself was also developed by Yuan Mei. Yao Wenwen leaned in, her voice low yet brimming with excitement. "Boss, why not participate in the grand prize contest as well? I'm a huge fan of Team R. Team R forever." "Really, Wenwen, you follow the World Championship too?" Jiang Yuan inquired with curiosity. "Of course. I have adored MOBA games since I was 16. Yao Wenwen straightened her posture, pride evident in her tone. Jiang Yuan cast her a sidelong glance. He had not anticipated that this woman was a gaming enthusiast, having been captivated by MOBA games since her teenage years. "Boss, I've already joined the grand prize contest, and I'm certain Team R will clinch the championship," Yao Wenwen exclaimed, her excitement causing her voice to rise inadvertently, thus transmitting her words to Vivi's ears. She resembled a startled hedgehog, instantly raising an eyebrow in displeasure. I remarked that individuals of your ilk lack discernment. This year's Team E is at the pinnacle of its prowess, achieving an impressive series of victories. What could Team R possibly compare with it? HM? Chapter 318. The confidence that echoes across the world as I engaged in conversation with 1-1. Your interjection was unwarranted. To take a step back, even if they were to clinch the championship, it hardly concerns you, does it? There is no need for you to adopt a condescending tone here. Jiang Yuan frowned. He had long been puzzled by certain individuals who derive satisfaction from discussing others. For instance, some delight in proclaiming how wealthy their classmates are. Yet that wealth does not translate into financial assistance for them. What relevance does it hold for you? Their riches belong to them alone. It is rather tasteless to exude pride while speaking of someone else's fortune. Similarly, whether another team triumphs or falters, there is no need for this woman to adopt an air of superiority to critique the situation. Vivi, taken aback by Jiang Yuan's blunt retort, found herself slightly irked. Her brows furrowed, clearly displeased. Jiang Yuan, however, simply retrieved his phone and quietly dialed a number. In truth, whether it be Team E or Team R, their training facilities and the founders behind the clubs are all backed by the Yuanmei Corporation. In essence, the puppeteers orchestrating everything behind the scenes are none other than Jiang Yuan's subordinates. While the competition ostensibly revolves around honor and belief, in reality, it is fundamentally a matter of commerce. The so-called lucrative rewards for betting are of little concern to Jiang Yuan. They merely serve as a pretext for excitement. After concluding his call, he resumed his enjoyment of the exquisite cuisine before him. You are merely someone who seeks favors from my father. Your demeanor is rather presumptuous. Wouldn't you agree? Vivi scoffed. Jiang Yuan's expression darkened at her words, his displeasure intensifying. Seeking favors? That is a preposterous joke. Since his debut, he had never deigned to seek anyone's approval to get things done. Such a notion was utterly ludicrous. You will soon discover who truly embodies arrogance and who is humbled. Jiang Yuan replied coolly, having lost all patience with this foolish woman. With this thought, he felt a sense of calm wash over him, adopting a tone that bordered on indifference. Oh, am I to believe that my demeanor is too lofty while yours is too lowly? Vivi retorted, a mix of indignation and amusement coloring her voice. Like a proud phoenix, she elevated her head, looking down upon Jiang Yuan with disdain. And why do you assert that I shall soon know? Just based on your word? She derided once more. Jiang Yuan shook his head, as if gazing upon a complete simpleton. With a tone tinged with almost sympathetic condescension, he declared, because soon I shall achieve renown across the world. His demeanor remained unremarkable, as though he were discussing trivial matters. Yet the content of his words was nothing short of earth-shattering. Before long, Jiang Yuan shall be celebrated far and wide. This proclamation, delivered with an air of casualness, carried an undeniable weight, as if he were discussing a matter of little consequence. Somehow, upon hearing this statement that should have elicited uncontrollable laughter, Wei Wei was suddenly struck with a jolt of realization, as if she had been hit by a hammer. Her keen sensitivity and sharp insight allowed her to discern the profound confidence embedded in Jiang Yuan's words. While an individual may indeed fabricate lies, such an unwavering and formidable confidence is exceedingly difficult to replicate. Chapter 319. The furious Zhou Ziang upon concluding his words, Jiang Yuan swiftly took Yao Wenwen and departed without hesitation. His exit was unceremonious, leaving no room for Wei Wei to react, as if she were but an insignificant jester unworthy of his attention. It was only after Jiang Yuan had driven away that Zhou Ziang received a report from his subordinate. What? Jiang Yuan left just like that? Zhou Ziang was taken aback, his heart racing with alarm. He hastily summoned Wei Wei to his presence. A profound sense of unease gripped Zhou Ziang. His instincts screamed that Wei Wei was the source of this turmoil. His throat felt hot and scratchy, and restlessness consumed him as he paced back and forth in desperation, silently praying for calm. When Wei Wei finally opened the door and met her father's fiery gaze, she instinctively recoiled, feeling a chill run through her. Zhou Ziang's brows were furrowed, his eyes ablaze with an intensity reminiscent of a raging inferno. The heat of his breath seemed to echo the fury of a bomb on the verge of detonation. Speak, did you drive Jiang Yuan away? Zhou Ziang was genuinely enraged, his fury palpable. This was the first time Wei Wei had witnessed such a display from her father. Despite his reputation for being tempestuous and domineering, he had always showered her with affection, never addressing her in such a manner. Yet, it was understandable. For Jiang Yuan was a pivotal ally in Zhou Ziang's quest for vengeance, a figure whose presence could determine the success or failure of his plans. To have such a crucial partner offended by his impulsive daughter was a grave misstep. Wei Wei felt a surge of fear, her speech faltering as she stammered, I didn't say anything. It was just a sensitivity. Seeing her lack of remorse and her attempts to deflect blame onto Jiang Yuan only fueled Zhou Ziyang's ire. In an unprecedented display of anger, he approached Wei Wei and delivered a sharp slap across her face, the sound reverberating in the room. Foolish. Utterly foolish. You have completely disregarded my words. Do you even comprehend who Jiang Yuan is? Zhou Ziyang was seething with frustration, his chest heaving with the intensity of his emotions. Terrified, Wei Wei fell silent, obediently closing her mouth, waiting for her father's anger to subside. This was the first time in her life she had witnessed Zhou Ziyang so wrathful, especially directed at her. All of this turmoil stemmed from her momentary indiscretion in offending Jiang Yuan. In that instant, Wei Wei realized she had perhaps committed an unforgivable mistake. Zhou Ziyang's demeanor suggested he might wish to strike her again in his fury. The room fell into a heavy silence, the only sound being Zhou Ziyang's labored breaths of anger. After a prolonged moment, his emotions began to ebb, and he sighed deeply. This is all my fault. I have spoiled you, leading you to make such a grievous error. Vivi no longer dared to utter a sound. Zhou Ziyang, in his agitation, waved his hand dismissively, signaling her to leave his room. Vivi, recognizing the genuine anger reflected in Zhou Ziyang's eyes, did not linger any longer. Once his daughter had departed, Zhou Ziyang cautiously dialed the number left by Jiang Yuan, contemplating how best to express his apologies. Chapter 320. The independence of Yao Qianqian. Jiang Yuan's phone vibrated incessantly, yet he had no intention of answering it. At that moment, he sat alongside Yao Wenwen in a Lamborghini, gazing out at the ever-changing nightscape of Beijing. The evening in the capital unfolded like a grand and enchanting neon world, adorned with magnificent and splendid lights. Boss, are you not angry? Yao Wenwen inquired tentatively from the driver's seat. You still need to collaborate with Zhou Ziyang. Don't let your emotions get the better of you. Jiang Yuan remained silent, merely shaking his head slowly as he admired the breathtaking night view. Enveloped in darkness, Beijing appeared both mysterious and beautiful. After a while, he finally spoke with a smile. She is merely an inconsequential woman. How could I possibly be angered? In truth, my departure is merely a subtle reminder to Zhou Ziyang. Upon hearing this, Yao Wenwen promptly fell silent. Business matters were beyond her comprehension, and thus she refrained from voicing her opinions. While he relished the night scenery, Jiang Yuan silently calculated his forthcoming plans. Zhou Ziyang was indeed a supportive ally, yet not the sole one. Conversely, Jiang Yuan was an indispensable presence in Zhou Ziyang's endeavors. They were partners who complemented each other, but the distribution of future benefits remained uncertain. Given Wei Wei's youthful impulsiveness, Jiang Yuan seized the opportunity to remind Zhou Ziyang of their relationship. However, to claim that Jiang Yuan was entirely unperturbed would be a falsehood. There was simply no need to vent his emotions on those around him. Although Yao Wenwen was his subordinate, their interactions over the past days had forged a significant bond. Jiang Yuan's protective nature prevented him from allowing Wei Wei to mistreat her, which was one of the reasons for his vexation. Yet, amidst the slightly troubling matters, Jiang Yuan's spirit gradually relaxed under the enchanting scenery of Beijing's night. Boss, shall we go find Qianqian? She is currently resting at a hotel and plans to visit an academic luminary tomorrow, Yao Wenwen suggested. Very well, Jiang Yuan nodded. Though he had initially found some discord with Yao Qianqian, she at least exhibited a fundamental level of courtesy. Compared to Wei Wei, she appeared significantly more endearing. The car sped along, soon halting in front of a magnificent hotel. Guided by Yao Wenwen, Jiang Yuan encountered Yao Qianqian within 10 minutes. However, she was quite occupied, bent over a table, diligently writing important materials. What are you busy with? Yao Wenwen gently tapped her shoulder. Yet Yao Qianqian did not lift her head, responding. Some application materials. I wish for that professor to accept me as a student, and these documents are indispensable. Jiang Yuan listened and couldn't help but regard Yao Qianqian with renewed admiration. This young lady possessed commendable determination, striving to learn independently and earnestly showcasing her talents to the professor. Indeed, a girl with aspirations. After all, her beauty could even make Jiang Yuan, a man accustomed to alluring charms, feel his heart race. Had she been another woman, she would likely have capitalized on her allure to rely on men for substantial gains. However, she chose the path of self-reliance, which inevitably earned her a measure of respect from Jiang Yuan. Chapter 321. journey together. Jiang Yuan was seated in the Lamborghini when Yao Wenwen began to share some details about her sister, Yao Qianqian. Upon her arrival in the capital, she had fortuitously learned that a Professor Qin was delivering a lecture at a prestigious university and would be staying for a few days. Elated by this news, she promptly sought an audience with him, hoping to be accepted as a student. Unfortunately, this esteemed professor was exceedingly busy and merely suggested that she prepare some materials for further discussion. Just as Yao Qianqian returned to the hotel, she secluded herself in her room, diligently working on her research materials from the past few years. Despite her efforts, she harbored a sense of futility, as Professor Qin was renowned in his field, attracting many established scholars eager to become his disciples. In contrast, she was merely a young girl without any family background, making it exceedingly difficult to capture his attention. "Sister, you should take a break," Yao Wenwen urged. "I cannot, I must keep trying," Yao Qianqian insisted, steadfast in her belief that determination could overcome destiny. However, as she spoke, she noticed Jiang Yuan standing not far away, prompting her to gasp and rise abruptly. She then cast a reproachful glance at her sister, murmuring, "Sister, why didn't you mention he was here? How rude of me." Yao Wenwen smiled gently. It was evident that her sister's attitude towards Jiang Yuan had improved significantly. Initially, Yao Qianqian had perceived him as a mere charlatan, a foolish wealthy man easily deceived. Yet, she soon discovered her grave misjudgment. Jiang Yuan was not only astute but remarkably intelligent. Over time, although her feelings had not blossomed into love, she had cultivated a substantial fondness for him, far beyond a typical acquaintance. Now, standing beside Jiang Yuan, she felt a twinge of embarrassment for having overlooked him. "Which academic luminary do you meet tomorrow?" Jiang Yuan inquired. "Professor Qin. He is giving a lecture at a nearby normal university tomorrow," Yao Qianqian replied. "Ah," Jiang Yuan nodded, then smiled. "Since I have no plans for tomorrow, why not join you? I'm also eager to attend the lecture and enrich my understanding." Yao Qianqian blushed at this suggestion, her mind swirling with fantasies. Could it be that he was seeking an excuse to spend time with her? At her age, a young girl often harbored numerous thoughts, especially when in the presence of an attractive boy. It was easy to let her imagination run wild. Jiang Yuan, on the other hand, held no such intentions. His thoughts were straightforward. He simply wished to meet Professor Qin. Although he had already secured partnerships with Zhou Ziyang and several members of the patent office, he still required the support of esteemed experts to facilitate his endeavors with the 4 prominent families. "All right, but you may need to wait for me outside. Professor Qin typically does not meet with outsiders," he cautioned. Yao Qianqian hesitated for a moment, but ultimately acquiesced. When she submits her materials tomorrow, it may require some time, so she has informed her sister and Jiang Yuan in advance. Chapter 322. Traveling with Beauty. The following day, at 9 in the morning, Jiang Yuan awoke comfortably with a contented hum, savoring the gentle embrace of sleep in the hotel bed. Since childhood, he had possessed the admirable trait of being indifferent to the quality of his sleeping arrangements. As long as the hygiene was acceptable, he could slumber soundly until dawn. Moreover, with a beautiful companion by his side, his sleep quality was astonishingly high. Yao Wenwen, having already completed her morning routine, began to assist him with his bath and attire. "Boss, is there really no issue with Zhou Ziyang? It seems rather impolite for us to have left so abruptly yesterday," she expressed with concern. After all, she had heard of Zhou Ziyang's ruthless and decisive nature, as well as his penchant for harboring grudges. The previous day's abrupt departure had partly stemmed from a conflict he had with Zhou Ziyang's daughter. If her actions had disrupted Jiang Yuan's important matters, she would feel deeply remorseful. However, upon hearing her words, Jiang Yuan simply chuckled. He playfully lifted Yao Wenwen's chin with his finger and said, "Silly girl. Do you truly believe I am a mere simpleton? The reality is quite different from what you perceive. Rest assured, even if Zhou Ziyang were a tiger, I will make him behave like a sickly cat in my presence." With that, Jiang Yuan raised his phone, revealing a string of missed calls, all from Zhou Ziyang. "This old fellow must be frantic right now. He is likely preparing to bring me something as an apology. Let us leave him hanging for a while. So he understands the gravity of the situation and doesn't he overstep his bounds," he remarked with a cold smirk. Yao Wenwen stared at the numerous calls from Zhou Ziyang in astonishment. After all, this was Zhou Ziyang, the international trade magnate, sought after by countless individuals eager to forge connections with him. Yet here he was, firmly under Jiang Yuan's control. "Boss, you haven't slipped him some sort of charm, have you? Otherwise, his attitude seems remarkably subservient," Yao Wenwen said in disbelief. "For charm? In this world, nothing is more potent than enduring interests. Besides, his quest for revenge is still at stake. How could a mere charm compare? Jiang Yuan scoffed. Listening to Jiang Yuan's words, Yao Wenwen, though not fully comprehending everything he said, could sense that her boss possessed extraordinary abilities, enough to make even the renowned trade tycoon submit to him. This realization stirred a profound admiration within her. Initially drawn to Jiang Yuan for his wealth, she now found herself completely enamored by his capabilities. A man of both talent and fortune, he was the epitome of a treasure, a dream for countless women. After diligently assisting Jiang Yuan with his morning routine, the two sought out Yao Qianqian, only to discover a hefty stack of documents piled on her table, with fatigue evident on her face, suggesting she had not rested well the previous night. Is everything all right? Last night, did you not get enough rest? Yao Wenwen, with a hint of concern, grasped her sister's hand. Although she was aware of her sister's relentless efforts, she was taken aback by the intensity of her determination. Given the current situation, it seemed as though her sister was resolutely committed to her cause. I'm fine, sis. Yao Qianqian managed a faint smile, though her body swayed slightly, betraying her fatigue. Yet, she felt she had no alternative. After all, the opportunity to meet Professor Qin was exceedingly rare. Organizing some materials was a trifling task in comparison. The mere thought of potentially joining Professor Qin's research team filled her heart with fervor. Despite the uncertainty of her hopes, who could definitively claim that she had no chance? One must invariably seek opportunities for breakthrough amidst adversity. The trio enjoyed a simple breakfast at the hotel, which offered local delicacies such as fried liver, noodle tea, and stewed dishes. Although not extravagant, the dishes boasted regional flavors. However, Jiang Yuan found the noodle tea rather peculiar and somewhat unpalatable. In contrast, the Yao sisters savored their meal with delight, as though they were indulging in a rare delicacy, their faces aglow with satisfaction. Is it really that delicious? Jiang Yuan inquired, as these dishes did not seem particularly appetizing to him, merely a novelty of local cuisine. Yao Wenwen replied with a smile, when we were children, our family was quite impoverished, so we never had high standards for food. As long as it was clean and wholesome, we were generally quite content. Jiang Yuan paused, observing the sisters closely. He noted the gratitude reflected in their eyes and expressions towards life itself. Coming from a background of hardship, they could have easily worn frowns and lamented their fate. Yet, they exuded a profound appreciation for both life and sustenance, grateful for all they possessed. This truly inspired Jiang Yuan and fostered a sense of admiration within him. These sisters were indeed extraordinary, he mused. After breakfast, the three set off as planned to the normal university. Yao Qianqian was filled with trepidation regarding whether she could catch the discerning eye of the esteemed academic, Professor Qin, while Jiang Yuan and Yao Wenwen accompanied her, also relishing the outing. The university district of the capital buzzed with vitality. The trio toured the surroundings in a Lamborghini, taking in the sights and shops. To maintain a low profile, Jiang Yuan had specifically requested Yao Wenwen to select a more modest Lamborghini model. Such cars were not uncommon in the university town, and their journey proceeded without incident. Upon arriving at their destination, Normal University, the three entered the auditorium together. Jiang Yuan and Yao Wenwen, having come to support Yao Qianqian, casually found seats and began to occupy themselves with their phones. Yao Qianqian, however, was profoundly anxious as she fixated on the figure of Professor Qin at the podium. He was an elderly professor, likely in his 70s, his face etched with the marks of time. Yet, his eyes sparkled with vitality, and his demeanor was remarkably spirited. The lecture commenced swiftly, and the entire auditorium fell silent, with all eyes riveted on the esteemed professor at the front. Only Jiang Yuan and Yao Wenwen were exceptions. They had come merely to accompany Yao Qianqian, akin to being mere bystanders. Soon, feeling a tinge of ennui while fiddling with their phones, they decided to join forces and engage in a gaming session. I could take him down solo, and then we shall claim the dragon, exclaimed one. Oh dear boss, I've been defeated. This is disastrous, lamented the other. Do not panic. I shall take the lead. With exhilaration, the two continued their spirited gaming endeavor. Chapter 323, A Neglected Group, as Jiang Yuan and Yao Wenwen reveled in their delightful moment. A pair of young individuals nearby furrowed their brows at the duo. Brother, this is Professor Qin's lecture. So many people have scrambled for tickets. Yet there are those playing games here. It is utterly disrespectful to us as the organizers. The girl pouted in frustration, her discontent evident. It was indeed rather excessive. Professor Qin, as a distinguished guest of our university, had been invited with considerable effort and sincerity. If he were to witness someone inattentively engaged in gaming, it would undoubtedly bring disgrace to our institution. The young man shared her displeasure. The identities of these two were not insignificant within the university, as both were favored students of Professor Chin. Consequently, even many academic professors on campus afforded them a degree of deference. Offending Professor Chin could spell disaster. Moreover, their association with him had granted them numerous privileges. Out of gratitude for Professor Chin's kindness, they held him in great esteem, and anything that could tarnish his reputation was wholly intolerable to them. That said, their options were limited. They could only issue a verbal warning to Jiang Yuan. Given his attire, it was clear he was not a student of a university. Brother, let us refrain from a hasty warning, lest we incur Professor Chin's ire. Perhaps we should wait and see. He might temper his behavior, considering the crowd here, the girl suggested hesitantly. The young man nodded, visibly displeased. Yet his gaze remained fixed on Jiang Yuan with noticeable annoyance. His discontent stemmed from a more personal reason, despite being in his second year of graduate studies. He had yet to find a girlfriend. Witnessing Jiang Yuan accompany a goddess like Yao Wenwen only deepened his unspoken feelings of envy and bitterness. Of course, such sentiments were not something he could share with his sister. He still had his pride. However, after more than half an hour, the siblings were astonished and somewhat irate to discover that Jiang Yuan seemed to be getting more engrossed in the game, even rallying a few unfamiliar female players to join him. Jiang Yuan's remarkable social skills left the brother and sister both astonished and furious. It turned out that Jiang Yuan was inherently amiable, and with his commendable physique and appearance, he effortlessly captivated the mostly female medical students present, who were typically confined to the monotony of their laboratories. Encountering someone as intriguing as Jiang Yuan allowed them to let loose. Moreover, Jiang Yuan proved to be quite skilled at the game, often turning the tide in his favor from the mid-lane position, showcasing impressive maneuvers that quickly garnered admiration from several young women. Hey, you play so well. What's your name? One of the unfamiliar girls, playing a support, suddenly shyly addressed Jiang Yuan. Oh, I am Jiang Shang, he replied. Jiang Yuan told a small lie, concealing his true name, for the circumstances were peculiar, and it was prudent to safeguard his whereabouts. You play exceptionally well. Let us engage in another game next time. Could you share your WeChat with me? The young lady inquired hesitantly. Of course, the game was merely a pretext. Many astute observers were smiling knowingly at this scene, having discerned that this young girl had developed a fondness for Jiang Yuan. I'm sorry, but I cannot add strangers, Jiang Yuan politely declined. The young lady's face fell with profound disappointment. Her gaze cast at Jiang Yuan with a hint of melancholy. Meanwhile, several other unfamiliar young ladies nearby secretly breathed a sigh of relief. They had just been lamenting their lack of courage to approach Jiang Yuan for his contact information, only to see another woman beat them to it. However, witnessing Jiang Yuan's decisive rejection of this girl reignited a flicker of hope within them, tinged with a touch of unspoken schadenfreude. In truth, Jiang Yuan's reason for rejecting the young lady was both simple and pure. It would be rather disrespectful to stir up trouble right in front of Yao Qianqian and Yao Wenwen, who were beside him. Not far away, a young man who had earlier expressed dissatisfaction with Jiang Yuan's gaming antics suddenly felt his heart skip a beat, for he had recognized the young lady's face. She was none other than the goddess he had yearned for since his first year of university. Back then, in his naivety, he had recklessly charged towards his beloved, only to find himself reduced to a pitiful admirer. This had plunged him into deep sorrow, and it wasn't until he entered graduate school that his heartache began to ease. Yet, he never anticipated encountering his goddess in such a setting. He had envisioned countless romantic scenarios for this moment, but never did he expect to see her actively seeking someone else's contact details, only to be turned down. At that instant, his jealousy towards Jiang Yuan flared up like a raging fire, consuming him entirely. Meanwhile, Jiang Yuan remained oblivious to the turmoil brewing within the young man. He gently squeezed Yao Qianqian's hand, which trembled with anxiety, and reassured her, do not be too nervous. Yao Qianqian managed a reluctant response, yet her trembling figure betrayed her inner turmoil. As the presentation progressed to its midpoint, she finally mustered the courage to submit the materials she had painstakingly prepared overnight to Professor Chin's assistant. However, the assistant's demeanor was rather indifferent, hastily accepting her submission. That will suffice. Please wait for further notice, he stated coldly, offering no additional words. Feeling a pang of injustice at his dismissive attitude, Yao Qianqian was not unable to accept failure. Rather, it stung that he hadn't even glanced at the fruits of her labor, which she had toiled over for so long. Such arrogance felt excessive. Yet, she was acutely aware that there were numerous individuals vying to submit their materials, all hoping to enhance their resumes with a prestigious addition from Professor Qin's esteemed laboratory. In truth, there are countless ordinary girls like Yao Qianqian, the assistant. Having followed Professor Qin for a considerable time, naturally understands which individuals are worthy of opportunity, which should be granted a chance, and which are not worth his attention. Not far away, a sycophantic youth disdainfully remarked, "How presumptuous! Does old Qin really hold any regard for such an ordinary student? The criteria for recruitment in our laboratory rank among the top 3 of the 10 most esteemed professors." His sister nodded in agreement, both having spent over a year shadowing Professor Qin, having encountered a plethora of talented students. Even if they were to consider accepting someone, it would not be done so haphazardly. Chapter 324. Professor Qin's expectations. Jiang Yuan observed the scene before him, feeling a sense of bewilderment. To refuse was one thing, but to not even spare a glance was rather contemptuous. Such an attitude was excessively lacking in grace, especially for a renowned professor. It seemed that Professor Qin's assistant had noticed Jiang Yuan's gaze, as he immediately displayed a look of displeasure. Upon seeing Yao Qianqian standing there, utterly dejected and rigid, he impatiently remarked, "I told you to wait for the notification. You should leave now." It was evident that he was eager to usher her away, considering her presence somewhat bothersome. Yao Qianqian had no choice but to lower her head and return to her position beside Jiang Yuan. The first half of Professor Qin's lecture lasted 2 hours, leaving his throat parched as he quietly rested backstage. With his eyes closed, he sought tranquility, and others dared not disturb his repose. Although he maintained an admirable level of self-discipline and mental acuity, the relentless passage of time had inevitably diminished his physical stamina, necessitating a period of rest. Despite his physical respite, his thoughts were consumed by a significant matter that had recently come to his attention. He had received intriguing news from several old acquaintances of the patent office. A young man named Jiang Yuan had produced 2 groundbreaking research achievements that were poised to create a stir within the domestic medical community. The value of such accomplishments far surpassed that of ordinary luxury vehicles or villas. If one were to evaluate these findings in monetary terms, they would resemble a veritable printing press, capable of generating substantial wealth on a daily basis. Moreover, it was said that these remarkable results originated from a young man named Jiang Yuan, indeed, a formidable talent. Professor Qin sighed inwardly. He retrieved his phone to glance at the photograph of Jiang Yuan that he had obtained through connections. The image, clearly captured surreptitiously, only showcased Jiang Yuan's profile. The more he gazed upon it, the more he felt a surge of admiration. If only he could cultivate a relationship with such a prodigy, it would undoubtedly yield enormous benefits for both parties. Alas, this young man was elusive, and Professor Qin pondered whether he would ever have the opportunity to meet him. As Professor Qin contemplated Jiang Yuan's photograph, a pair of warm, substantial hands clapped him on the shoulder. He looked up to find the familiar face of a middle-aged man. "Ziyang, is that you?" Professor Qin exclaimed, rising abruptly from his seat. "What a rare guest you are. After so many years, what brings you to seek out this old friend? This is quite uncharacteristic of you." Zhou Ziyang smiled. "Professor Qin, after all these years, you still possess the same charm, showing no signs of aging or fatigue. It truly inspires my envy." Professor Qin waved his hand dismissively. "There is no need for such pleasantries with an old man like me. I find such formalities tiresome. I suspect you wouldn't come without a purpose. What brings you here today?" Zhou Ziyang smiled and remarked, "Professor Qin, your keen insight is truly remarkable. My trivial intentions are utterly beyond concealment from your discerning gaze." He paused for a moment and continued, "In truth, I am seeking a young acquaintance of mine. I learned through various channels that he is here today, and I was hoping you could assist me in locating him." Professor Qin furrowed his brow and inquired, "Why do you specifically require my assistance in finding him? Have you encountered some conflict with him?" Zhou Ziyang replied with a wry smile, "Not at all. It is merely that he has had a disagreement with my rather impulsive adopted daughter. I have already reprimanded her, yet this young man appears unwilling to accept my apology." Professor Qin expressed surprise. "It seems this young man commands quite a bit of your respect. Who is he?" Zhou Ziyang sighed in resignation. "His name is Jiang Yuan, a truly remarkable young man." "Jiang Yuan," Professor Qin exclaimed, momentarily losing his composure. He had been maintaining his composure while conversing with Zhou Ziyang, but upon hearing Jiang Yuan's name, he could no longer contain himself. Zhou Ziyang, however, wore an expression that suggested he had anticipated this reaction, saying, "It seems you have indeed heard of him." While Professor Qin had initially been contemplating Zhou Ziyang's request, The mention of Jiang Yuan made it impossible for him to decline. No problem. I shall immediately instruct someone to help you find him, Professor Qin replied decisively. However, you must agree to one condition. Upon locating this young man, you must arrange for him to dine with me. Zhou Ziang smiled. That is only natural. He was not surprised by Professor Qin's reaction, having witnessed Jiang Yuan's extraordinary abilities firsthand. Not to mention, even the congenital illness of Ting Sha had been remarkably suppressed by Jiang Yuan's associates, enabling her to regain basic mobility by the previous night, a truly incredible feat at present. Professor Qin was filled with curiosity and keen interest regarding Jiang Yuan. He eagerly anticipated their meeting. After finalizing their arrangements, they promptly commenced their plans. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yao Qianqian felt utterly despondent. The materials she had tirelessly prepared overnight were treated like refuse, disregarded by all. A sense of gloom settled in her heart, a stark collision between her aspirations and the harshness of reality. Jiang Yuan gently placed a hand on her shoulder, softly reassuring her, "It's all right. It's merely a minor setback. Nothing to fret over." Yao Wenwen approached her side, offering comfort as well. "That person lacks discernment. Let us not stoop to their level. Come, let us go." Hearing the comforting words from her sister and Jiang Yuan, Yao Qianqian mustered a forced smile and replied, "Yes, it's nothing. Let us head back." Despite her words, Jiang Yuan could clearly see the unmistakable disappointment in her eyes. Jiang Yuan furrowed his brow and addressed the assistant. "Are you truly unwilling to give her an opportunity?" The assistant, hearing Jiang Yuan's voice that seemed to issue an ultimatum, nearly burst into laughter. After all, what stature did Professor Qin hold? As his assistant, I usually spoke to others in such a tone. Never did I imagine that one day I would encounter someone who would dare to address me in the same manner. It was truly akin to a mouse baring its teeth at a cat. Utterly ignorant. The assistant scoffed, laced with sarcasm, and remarked, "Opportunity? Young man, it seems you have not grasped the situation. You ought to spend a few more years honing your skills in society, or perhaps read a few more books. There are myriad ailments that our Professor Qin can treat, but there exists one affliction that remains incurable: foolishness. Some maladies may not threaten life, yet money is indeed the essence of human existence." Chapter 325. The arrogance of the assistant professor. Jiang Yuan gazed at the individual before him with frigid eyes, akin to observing a lifeless corpse. Yao Qianqian hastily grasped Jiang Yuan's hand, her heart racing with fear at the prospect of an explosive confrontation, particularly one instigated by her. Meanwhile, Yao Wenwen could no longer contain her ire and unleashed a tirade, indignantly questioning how a mere assistant could dare to flaunt their authority before someone of her boss's stature. With a delicate hand, she pointed accusingly at the assistant, exclaiming, "You blind fool, do you not value your life?" Taken aback by the sudden onslaught from such a striking beauty, the assistant momentarily froze, only to be consumed by a fit of rage. "Repeat that." He seethed, laughter laced with contempt. "Oh, I have much more to say," Yao Wenwen retorted with a cold smile. Her phoenix-like eyes glimmered with a chilling light, leaving no doubt that she was poised to take action. A few young women, who had previously been enjoying themselves in the company of the trio, exchanged glances of disapproval and interjected, "Please, let us not escalate this. It's a trivial matter. Assistant, you hold a respectable position. Do not stoop to their level. Indeed, consider Professor Qin," they continued. "They appear to be mere recent graduates. If you engage in petty disputes, it would reflect poorly on Professor Qin and surely displease him." They added, "Moreover, today is Professor Qin's lecture. Any discord would undoubtedly draw attention, and the repercussions could be quite undesirable. Please think it over." Jiang Yuan recognized the underlying benevolence of the young women's intentions, although their words ostensibly honored the assistant. Their true motive was to safeguard the trio. They understood the unspoken rule that even the mightiest dragon must respect the local snake. Thus, they were cautious. Even formidable figures from the capital would receive no quarter from Professor Qin's circle. Listening to the women, the assistant's demeanor wavered, revealing a hint of uncertainty. He bore the added weight of being Professor Qin's cousin, which had emboldened him to act with such bravado. Yet, this very connection constrained his arrogance. While he could afford to be somewhat audacious, he could not afford to escalate matters. The repercussions from Professor Qin would be insufferable. Though Professor Qin devoted himself entirely to medical research and remained largely oblivious to worldly affairs, it did not imply he was oblivious to his relative's misdeeds. He merely chose to turn a blind eye out of familial affection. With a dismissive curl of his lip, the assistant tempered his tone, stating, "You may leave now." Nevertheless, despite his reservations, he remained obstinately defiant. discarding the folder of materials Yao Qianqian had painstakingly assembled into the trash can. With a resounding thud, the fruits of Yao Qianqian's labor over countless sleepless nights were unceremoniously cast into the refuse. Yao Wenwen's expression darkened instantly, her knuckles tightening into a white-knuckled fist, her gaze icy and menacing. Xian Xian is her most cherished younger sister. How could she possibly endure such indignity? Just as tensions escalated to a breaking point, the brother and sister duo observed the scene with a rather malicious glee. The man, in particular, seethed with jealousy as he watched his goddess shower affection upon Jiang Yuan. Deep within, he harbored a fierce resentment, wishing nothing more than for Jiang Yuan to suffer a lifetime of misfortune. How satisfying it would be to see this arrogant fellow, who dared to play games during such a crucial speech, face the consequences of his outrageous behavior. This was nothing short of poetic justice. The young man laughed heartily, his voice brimming with self-satisfaction. Furthermore, it was well known that Professor Qin's assistant had a notoriously bad temper. The audacity of Jiang Yuan and his companions to engage in a verbal spar with him was, indeed, a reckless gamble. He anticipated a delightful spectacle. So caught up in his own triumph was he that even his own sister could not help but roll her eyes. Although he spoke ill of Jiang Yuan, his words were laced with a palpable jealousy that even the most oblivious would discern. Jiang Yuan, for all his faults, had committed the gravest error of capturing the heart of his beloved goddess. He had caught him in the act, and the earlier gloom that had clouded his heart was instantly lifted, replaced by a thrill of amusement. Yet his sister, possessing a modicum of conscience and caution, interjected, urging him to report the incident to higher authorities. If the assistant were to cause any unrest, it could tarnish Professor Qin's esteemed reputation, and that was no trivial matter. Her concerns were not unfounded. The day's events were particularly sensitive, being a public speech. Should word spread that Professor Qin's associates were bullying outsiders, it would surely enrage the professor, who held his reputation in high regard. At that point, the two siblings would not escape unscathed. No need for such haste. The young man sneered. Let's wait a while longer. When that fellow can no longer bear the tension, we shall step in to intervene, thereby leaving a favorable impression on the assistant. This would greatly benefit us. Though he appeared somewhat dim-witted, solely focused on his amusement, he was, in truth, a cunning individual. He saw this as an opportunity to mend relations with the assistant and foster camaraderie. The crux of the matter lay in the discord between the assistant and Jiang Yuan. Should Jiang Yuan and his party recklessly confront him, the siblings could then present themselves as benevolent mediators, providing him with an escape route, which would undoubtedly create a positive impression on the assistant. This scheme, though not without its risks, was a gamble worth taking. Indeed, upon hearing her brother's words, his sister's expression shifted to one of realization. She regarded him with newfound respect, acknowledging that while he might be petty, he was certainly not foolish. Brother, how long shall we wait? She inquired. At this moment, she was equally consumed by greed, contemplating the immense benefits that could arise from cultivating a relationship with the assistant relative of Professor Qin. Undoubtedly, this would afford her greater advantages than her fellow peers. Let us wait a little longer. I refuse to believe this fellow can endure such restraint. The moment he acts, we shall emerge and deliver him a substantial warning. The young man scoffed repeatedly. The siblings were engrossed in their own schemes, their gaze fixated intently on the scene before them. Unbeknownst to them, a woman stood silently behind, absorbing every word of their conversation with unwavering clarity. Chapter 326. Sun Chen. This woman is named Sun Chen. Her long hair cascades down her shoulders, dyed in luscious waves of coffee brown, exuding a charm that would leave anyone who encounters her in awe, whispering to themselves that she is indeed a mesmerizing enchantress. Her complexion is as delicate as fine jade, and her features possess a captivating allure, embodying the essence of a quintessential beauty. Like the pair of siblings beside her, she too is a student of Professor Qin and hails from one of the four prominent families, the Sun family. As the siblings engaged in hushed whispers, Sun Chen furrowed her brow, yet refrained from interrupting. Her gaze was drawn to Jiang Yuan in the distance. Could this be the person Yungu spoke of? Sun Chen pondered, watching Jiang Yuan with a growing sense of disdain. To be bullied by a mere assistant of a professor and to endure such humiliation seemed to her a sign of mediocrity. He was nothing but a waste of potential. Truth be told, ever since Sun Yungu shared numerous tales about Jiang Yuan, her entry towards him had deepened. However, at this moment, disappointment clouded her sentiments. In her eyes, a true man should be fearless and decisive in his actions, unfazed even by the prospect of bearing a bad reputation. Yet, Jiang Yuan stood there, unflinching under the petty provocations of others. Had he displayed a more assertive demeanor, perhaps she would have been inclined to lend him her assistance. But if he was too timid to confront the assistant due to Professor Qin's esteemed reputation, then he was merely unworthy of her companionship. Thus, Sun Quan felt no inclination to intervene. In fact, a part of her was curious to witness how Jiang Yuan would endure further humiliation. In her heart, she believed that a man should epitomize dominance and strength, harboring an unyielding desire for power. She inherently despised weak and timid men, harboring a profound aversion towards them. Well, if the situation escalates beyond measure, I shall step in to offer some assistance, she contemplated. After all, he is the man that Yun Ge has taken a liking to, and it would be remiss of me to stand idly by while he faces trouble. Yet, it appears that Yun Ge may be too naive in her judgments this time. I ought to give her a gentle warning. After a moment of contemplation, Sun Quan resolved to contact Sun Yun Ge. Casting one last glance at the pair of siblings, she discreetly departed from her position. She then retrieved her phone and dialed Sun Yun Ge's number. On the other end of the line, Sun Yun Ge was at a private women's swimming pool, enjoying a swim with her 3 close friends. Upon receiving Sun Chen's call, her female manager promptly informed her. Emerging from the water like a radiant lotus, Sun Yun Ge took the clean white towel handed to her by her manager, drying her hair while wearing a look of curiosity. Sun Quan, her cousin and a cherished companion since childhood, was as dear to her as the friends currently by her side. However, Sun Quan seldom reached out, except on rare occasions. Chen, what brings you to call? Sun Yun Ge inquired over the phone. Yun Ge, I have encountered the Jiang Yuan you mentioned last time, Sun Quan replied. Upon hearing the name Jiang Yuan, Sun Yunj could not help but feel a surge of excitement, her voice involuntarily rising by 3 degrees as she inquired. Jiang Yuan? Where is he? I haven't received any news about him for quite some time. Her 3 close friends, Chun Xiaoyan, Meng Yunga, and Su Lily, simultaneously focused their gazes on her face. Jiang Yuan? Is he the young man you've been mentioning incessantly these past few days? One of them teased. Oh, I was wondering who it was. It's the man who has utterly captivated our young lady's son, isn't it? Another chimed in. Look, the moment news about him arrives, our young lady's son can hardly contain herself. They continued to jest about her, causing her cheeks to flush with embarrassment. It was no surprise, considering she had, on a whim a few days prior, divulged everything about Jiang Yuan to them. However, she was curious and eager to understand why her cousin suddenly called to share news about him. On the other end of the line, Sun Quan relayed in detail everything she had observed about Jiang Yuan, accompanied by her own assessment. This man is nothing more than a facade. Although he possesses an appealing exterior, he is ultimately just a decorative pillow. Sun Yunj, however, found herself in complete disagreement with her cousin's judgment. She calmly shook her head and replied, Cousin, you do not truly know him. Please do not jump to conclusions. Hearing her younger cousin's unwavering belief in this so-called waste of space, Sun Quan could not help but shake her head in regret. Dear cousin, you are still naive and will inevitably encounter men who are charming on the outside but hollow within. You are simply bewitched. Sun Quan spoke with a hint of helplessness. Cousin, I will not argue with you, Sun Yunj responded placidly. I know exactly what kind of man Jiang Yuan is. You need only wait. I believe he has his own reasons for remaining low-key at the moment. Sun Quan shook her head, her lips moving as if to say something. Yet ultimately, she chose silence. It was not entirely her younger cousin's fault for being deceived by a stranger. She cast a cold glance towards Jiang Yuan, anticipating his folly. After hanging up the phone, Sun Yunj was immediately enveloped by her 3 friends. Having grown up together, the 4 of them were inseparable sisters, and when it came to matters of romance, they were insatiably curious. Moreover, Sun Yunj had always had the most suitors among them, yet she held herself aloof, never granting even a sliver of attention to any man. However, just a few days ago, the somewhat unfamiliar name Jiang Yuan had been flowing from her lips incessantly, piquing her friend's curiosity. Yunj, quickly tell us, what news do you have about our Jiang Yuan? One urged. Oh please, what do you mean our Jiang Yuan? It's clearly Yunj's Jiang Yuan. You really must choose your words more carefully. Another teased. Oh, my mistake. It's Yunj's Jiang Yuan, not ours. Stop picking on Yunj. She's about to burst. Sun Yunj smiled shyly and said, It matters not how you speak before me, but when you encounter him in the future. Do refrain from such remarks in his presence. Her demeanor and tone resembled that of a bashful young bride, prompting a fresh wave of teasing from her 3 close friends. So, What manner of person is Jiang Yuan? They inquired. After a moment of contemplation, Sun Yunj replied earnestly, he is the most captivating man I have ever encountered. Chapter 327. The assistant in cold sweat. I apologize, sister, and Jiang Yuan. This is all my fault. However, let us avoid conflict and leave swiftly. Yao Qianqian spoke with a hint of melancholy. At that moment, her heart brimmed with disappointment and trepidation. Today was meant to be a pivotal day for her, one for which she had meticulously prepared over several nights. Yet she had never anticipated such an outcome, leaving her heart in a state of bittersweet ache. What truly disheartened her, however, was the character of Professor Qin's assistant, which fell woefully short of their esteemed reputation. If they did not hasten their departure, it was possible that her sister and Jiang Yuan would be embroiled in this mess as well. Should the situation escalate to that extent, she feared she would be consumed by regret. Yao Qianqian grasped Jiang Yuan's hand, intending to leave, but just as her fingers brushed against his, he grasped her hand firmly. She felt her previously icy hand enveloped by his warm, substantial palm. Instantly, a comforting warmth surged from her heart, eliciting a sense of safety that she found immensely pleasant. Wishing to prolong this sensation for as long as possible. Yet, an overwhelming sense of confusion soon clouded her thoughts. You. Yao Qianqian's lips parted slightly, eager to speak, yet the words eluded her. Jiang Yuan's demeanor was too composed, too calm. His gaze was tranquil, akin to a gentle spring stream, imbued with the warmth of a breeze caressing the treetops. No need to leave. Someone is approaching, Jiang Yuan remarked with a smile, gesturing toward a nearby corner. Yet there was nothing in sight. Yao Qianqian, bewildered, inquired, but there is no one there? Jiang Yuan simply smiled, and at that moment, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed in the ears of everyone present. Tap, tap, tap. The urgency of those footsteps signified a state of great alarm. The once arrogant assistant of Professor Qin shuddered at the sound. What is happening? What is wrong? A tremor coursed through the assistant's heart. Professor Qin had always had heart issues and had specifically instructed everyone to tread lightly, allowing for hasty movements only in extraordinary circumstances, which were exceedingly rare. What could possibly have transpired? He anxiously gazed toward the shadowy corner, his heart racing as if it might leap from his throat, his eyes wide with apprehension. An unsettling feeling washed over him, particularly when he observed Jiang Yuan's unwavering composure, which left him feeling as though he were pricked by 1,000 needles. He must be bluffing. He is surely just putting on a show. The assistant repeatedly reassured himself. With Elder Qin as my formidable ally, no matter how powerful the opposition may be, they cannot pose any threat to me. Even if they possess a notable background, at most, it would result in Elder Qin admonishing me with a few reprimands, merely as a token gesture. The last time I found myself in such a significant predicament, even a Lin family, one of the 4 esteemed clans, confronted me. Yet, Elder Qin only scolded me superficially. I expect this instance to unfold similarly. The assistant continuously sought solace within himself, yet the unsettling feeling only intensified, becoming increasingly uncontainable. Anxious thoughts surged uncontrollably within him, and before he realized it, cold sweat had thoroughly drenched his back. Chapter 328. The astonished siblings. Jiang Yuan's warm left hand clasped Yao Qianqian's, while his right hand gently rested upon her shoulder. He chuckled softly, assuring her, everything will be all right. His voice, as gentle as a spring breeze, gradually soothed Yao Qianqian's tumultuous heart. Yet, her eyes remained clouded with confusion, unable to comprehend why the once imperious assistant now exhibited signs of panic. What perplexed her further was Jiang Yuan's demeanor, exuding an air of confidence despite being in a territory that was evidently not his own. From her perspective, this was clearly Old Qin's domain, where the assistant was the local authority, making it implausible for him to confront such a figure. Yet, at this moment, he appeared visibly unsettled, as if an immense dread was impending. This stark contrast to his earlier haughty self was striking. The sudden change in the atmosphere could be traced to the hurried footsteps emerging from the shadowy corner. The tension in the room thickened, with every gaze instinctively drawn toward the source of the sound. Talp! 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 Strangely, it seemed as though everyone was infected by the assistant's anxious energy, collectively growing tense. However, it was the unexpected ringing of the assistant's phone that shattered the stillness. The melodic chime, typically soothing, now struck his ears like a sinister echo from the underworld, sending chills down his spine. The call displayed an entirely unfamiliar number. His fears stemmed from the recognition of the phone's format. The numbers assigned by Old Qin to their group were uniformly purchased distributed by a designated individual, and encoded with hierarchical significance. For instance, the number 74,138 contained within his own phone represented his status at level 3, a considerable rank within their hierarchy. With only 5 levels in total, level 3 denoted considerable authority, marking him as a pivotal member of the team. Yet, the unknown caller's number indicated a rank of 5, symbolizing the highest echelon of power within Old Qin's circle. This meant that a single word from this individual carried the weight of Old Qin's authority. Who is this? This is Qin Hao, the assistant uttered nervously, revealing his true name. It was noteworthy that just moments ago, he had defiantly withheld his name from Jiang Yuan and the others, believing them unworthy of such knowledge. However, the words that echoed from the phone now felt like a piercing needle, striking his heart with alarming clarity. You fool! Do you know who the young man before you is? Do you realize the magnitude of the disaster you've caused? You are finished, utterly finished. The voice on the other end was frantic and agitated, dousing him with a bucket of icy water, instantly chilling his spirit. The silver lining was that his suspicions and premonitions had indeed proven correct. The unfortunate news is that he is doomed. Suddenly, the assistant's complexion turned as pale as a sheet, and the voice on the phone resonated like that of a grim reaper, each additional word weighing heavier on his heart. Meanwhile, not far away, the siblings who had initially anticipated the amusement and folly of Jiang Yuan were rendered speechless, their faces betraying a look of astonishment. Chapter 329. The astonished son, Chun Jiang Yuan approached his assistant calmly, his steps measured. He extended his hand and gently patted the assistant's face. The crisp sound echoed in the hearts of all present, striking them like a thunderclap, profoundly shocking their souls. The assistant, who had previously exuded arrogance, now bore an expression filled with fear and astonishment. Trembling, he fixed his gaze on Jiang Yuan and stammered. Could you inform me who exactly you are? Jiang Yuan maintained a faint smile, enveloped in an aura of warmth. Yet he chose not to answer the inquiry, instead adopting the tone of a long-lost friend and calmly asked, Have you ever encountered a cockroach in your home? His question was abrupt and unexpected, leaving the assistant momentarily stunned. Yes, I have seen them. Southern cockroaches are prevalent, and most households have them, he replied. Then would you introduce yourself to a cockroach? Jiang Yuan retorted. In an instant, the assistant's face drained of color as he grasped the implication of Jiang Yuan's words. Upon encountering a pest, the instinctive reaction is to eliminate it. This was undoubtedly a death sentence. Yet, a surge of intense resentment welled up within him. He was to face a cruel fate without even knowing Jiang Yuan's true identity. He comprehended the grim reality awaiting him, especially since even the core members of Old Qin's team had lashed out at him in frustration. He had always positioned himself as a well-connected figure within Old Qin's circle, exuding arrogance. Even the most talented young individuals dared not confront him directly, silently enduring his vile temperament. Some even resorted to sycophancy, eager to ascend the ranks. However, today, he found himself mercilessly berated by a high-ranking core member over the phone, a clear indication of the monumental blunder he had committed. Who are you? Why does even the core member beside Old Qin pay such close attention to you? The assistant cried out. This time, Jiang Yuan fell completely silent, even turning his head away, seemingly disinterested in casting a glance at this ignorant, pitiable, and foolish individual. He was a man who valued time, unwilling to squander even a moment or an ounce of emotion on trivial people. His silence stemmed merely from his acute awareness of the day's unfolding events. To the others, the scene was utterly astonishing, unfolding in a manner that defied belief. The pair of siblings, who had initially sought to seize this opportunity to ascend the social ladder, stood frozen in place. Their original plan had been to observe from a distance, hoping to reap the benefits of the chaos. Thus, they had remained inactive, aiming to secure greater advantages. Yet now, the situation had taken a dramatic turn, completely beyond their expectations. If one fails to act appropriately, the subsequent pursuit of accountability will inevitably not spare them from the blame of failing to report in a timely manner. Such a significant responsibility must be thoroughly enforced, leaving no room for evasion. By then, one might find themselves losing both their assets and their allies, achieving nothing but a net loss. More shocking than the two siblings is the reaction of Sun Chun from the Sun family. At this moment, her eyes are filled with astonishment. Chapter 330. The anxious duo Jiang Yuan turned his gaze towards the sisters Yao Qianqian and Yao Wenwen, a smile gracing his lips. This smile, commonplace in nature, resembled the warmth of encountering a cherished friend in the embrace of spring. Yet, This ordinary expression bore vastly different interpretations in the eyes of those who beheld it. Yao Wenwen, having witnessed Jiang Yuan's remarkable abilities on numerous occasions, appeared relatively unfazed. In her eyes, Jiang Yuan's visage reflected a handsome and spirited young man, his features strikingly well-defined. At that moment, a profound sense of pride and honor surged within her. To work under someone of Jiang Yuan's caliber imbued her with an unparalleled sense of security. He was akin to a grand umbrella, sheltering those beneath him, resolutely defending their dignity and honor against any external transgressions. His fierce protectiveness was a hallmark of Jiang Yuan's character, a quality Yao Wenwen had come to appreciate deeply in recent days. Conversely, Yao Qianqian found herself ensnared in a state of confusion. The assistant to Professor Qin, reputed to be a relative of the venerable elder, was someone she dared not offend. Hence, she had hastily urged Jiang Yuan and her sister to depart, seeking to avert any potential calamity. However, an unexpected phone call abruptly transformed the scene. Although she was already aware of Jiang Yuan's extraordinary attributes, she was taken aback to discover that even someone as esteemed as Professor Qin could be swayed by Jiang Yuan's influence. This level of power was indeed formidable. Among the astonished, none were more taken aback than Sun Shun, who had just concluded a phone conversation with Sun Yunj. Reflecting on her previous words, a flush of embarrassment crept over her cheeks. It appeared that this individual truly possessed some hidden cards. Sun Shun was engulfed in uncertainty. Initially, she perceived Jiang Yuan as a coward, a timid soul who allowed others to trample upon him. Yet, observing the assistant's panicked demeanor juxtaposed with Jiang Yuan's composed and unshakable presence, she recognized the stark contrast. She then realized that Jiang Yuan had merely chosen not to engage with such a minor figure, even refraining from casting him a glance. Ordinary individuals might chuckle at a writhing insect on the ground before walking away, and Jiang Yuan likely shared a similar sentiment. What puzzled Sun Shun was what could have caused such terror in the assistant. After all, he was a relative of Professor Qin, who had previously turned a blind eye to his egregious misdeeds. Even during that significant incident, the assistant had shown no signs of remorse or regret, always exuding an air of invulnerability. What, then, had been said during that phone call? Sun Shun regarded Jiang Yuan and the others with a quizzical expression, as if striving to unravel the enigma before her. Meanwhile, not far from Jiang Yuan, Zhou Ziang and Professor Qin were hastily approaching, having already received reports from witnesses regarding the unfolding events. At this moment, the two individuals were consumed by anxiety, akin to ants scurrying on a hot pan. Professor Qin, having surpassed the age of 50, usually displayed a demeanor of tranquility towards worldly matters. Yet, at this juncture, he surprisingly revealed a hint of urgency, even a trace of regret in his gaze. Beside him, Zhou Ziang was in a state of palpable distress. Chapter 331. Sun Shen's shock observing Jiang Yuan not far away. The two individuals, who should have been overwhelmed with joy, were instead engulfed by a tumult of conflicting emotions. It was as if their hearts had been turned upside down, leaving them at a loss for words. What began as a straightforward matter had unexpectedly morphed into something utterly unacceptable. Those familiar with Elder Qin understood that. Despite his advanced age, he was renowned for his tranquil demeanor and unshakable composure, embodying the stoicism of ancient sages who remained unfazed in the face of calamity. Yet, in this moment, even he could not suppress a surge of indignation. The flames of anger flickered within him, swiftly occupying his mind and causing his eyes to redden slightly. Upon hearing about Jiang Yuan's recent events, he had become exceedingly intrigued. A person capable of astonishing even the most arrogant high-ranking officials of the patent office and deserving of the utmost respect was undoubtedly extraordinary. Even without Zhou Ziang's presence today, Elder Qin would have utilized his extensive network to formally extend an invitation to Jiang Yuan. With Zhou Ziang's arrival, he perceived a rare opportunity to establish a connection with this rising star. However, he never anticipated that his assistant, taking advantage of their distant familial ties, would act so recklessly and presumptuously. It was entirely his fault for indulging him too much. How could he dare offend someone of Jiang Yuan's caliber? Elder Qin was filled with regret and frustration, wishing fervently to claw at the walls in exasperation. He had previously granted this assistant a chance, only to find him unrepentant and now embroiling him in yet another significant debacle. Elder Qin's emotions were a tangled web, while Zhou Ziang was palpably anxious. His intention today was to bring a lavish gift to Jiang Yuan as an apology for his daughter's previous offense, which had strained their relationship. Yet, He was aware that Jiang Yuan was not one to hold petty grudges. As long as he seized the opportunity and apologized at the right moment, it should not end in embarrassment. To his dismay, however, yet another mishap unfolded right before his eyes. Some matters allow for a singular mistake, but a second transgression would be far more challenging to mend. Thus, both men hurriedly made their way to the scene. When they arrived simultaneously, it was akin to a long brewing storm finally erupting, striking a heavy blow to the hearts of all present. Only Jiang Yuan, upon seeing the two, merely cast them a fleeting glance, betraying no emotion. Elder Qin's heart sank, realizing that Jiang Yuan must be harboring some displeasure. He promptly approached his assistant and reprimanded him sternly. Zhou Ziang, acting decisively, stepped closer to Jiang Yuan, presenting the meticulously prepared apology gift with utmost respect. This scene was indelibly etched into the eyes of all witnesses. Sun Qin's gaze unexpectedly became extraordinarily sharp as she exclaimed in astonishment. Zhou Ziang and Elder Qin actually showed such respect towards him simply due to his presence? In that instant, her understanding was fundamentally shattered, leaving her mind in a state of utter blankness. However, the words of Sun Yunj suddenly came rushing back to her memory. I am most aware of the kind of man Jiang Yuan is. You need only to wait. I believe Jiang Yuan's current silence is for reasons of his own. Chapter 332. Compensation. Upon the arrival of the two elders, Jiang Yuan displayed no signs of surprise. He cast a subtle glance at the visibly flustered pair before patiently awaiting their words. However, Zhou Zhang opened his mouth, struggling to find the right moment to speak. As this was undoubtedly not his domain, even Elder Qin felt a sense of regret for his delayed handling of the matter, making it difficult for him to initiate the conversation. The two individuals stood before Jiang Yuan, noticeably adopting a more deferential posture. The atmosphere grew somewhat tense. Observing this scene, the siblings turned pale with fright. They were not naive or ignorant. On the contrary, they were exceptional individuals, chosen from the masses to stand beside Elder Qin. Unfortunately, fate had led them astray, placing them in the wrong position. Just moments ago, they had the opportunity to prevent the unfolding events but chose to remain passive, allowing the situation to worsen. This was dire. If held accountable, both of us are finished. The youth's gaze began to reflect a hint of panic. Yet before he could dwell on his thoughts, he noticed the arrival of personnel assigned to handle the situation. On the other side, Zhou Ziang remained silent for a moment before finally taking the initiative to speak. Jiang Yuan, today's events unfolded slowly on our part. If there is anything that has caused you displeasure, please feel free to voice it. Upon hearing his words, Jiang Yuan's expression softened noticeably. Zhou Ziang's demeanor was already somewhat humble, a stark contrast to his usual stature. However, given the circumstances, he had no choice but to concede. He willingly took the blame upon himself regarding the matter involving Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan found a measure of admiration for such a principled man. Elder Qin hesitated briefly before slowly articulating, "This is my domain, yet I allowed you to endure grievances here. I too bear an undeniable responsibility." Listening to their words, Jiang Yuan nodded lightly. This gesture indicated that he was not entirely dismissive of their apologies, leaving room for reconciliation. He believed in not being excessively harsh, providing others with an opportunity to redeem themselves. Seeing Jiang Yuan's demeanor, Zhou Ziang felt a slight sense of calm return to his heart. He smiled and said, "Jiang Yuan, I specifically coordinated with Elder Qin to prepare a grand gift for you, as a token of our apology for the previous unpleasantness." Elder Qin also displayed a warm smile, adding, "Jiang Yuan, although this is our first meeting, we hope that what we have prepared will meet your expectations." Hearing their words, Jiang Yuan smiled in return and responded courteously, "It is merely a small misunderstanding. There is no need for such expense." Zhou Ziang immediately waved his hand, insisting, "This is our sincere intention, Jiang Yuan. You must accept it." Elder Qin concurred, "Indeed, we must take responsibility for today's events, and you will surely be satisfied with our compensation." Jiang Yuan nodded slightly, though internally he regarded their offer with indifference. What need did he have for their compensation at this moment? What else could they possibly present? It seemed that Zhou Ziang had perceived Jiang Yuan's thoughts. After the two had finished speaking, he stealthily approached Jiang Yuan and whispered, "Jiang Yuan, the item we have prepared for you is worth your immediate attention." Upon hearing his confident and assured tone, Jiang Yuan could not help but feel intrigued about what could inspire such certainty in him. Chapter 333. The world stage. Jiang Yuan let out a faint sound of acknowledgement and casually inquired, "What could it possibly be?" Zhou Ziang, however, responded with a mysterious smile, saying, "Allow me to keep you in suspense for now. The answer will reveal itself tonight. I assure you, Jiang Yuan, you shall not be disappointed. Upon hearing this, Jiang Yuan felt a mix of amusement and exasperation. You guarantee I won't be disappointed? Such declarations should not be made too confidently. Nevertheless, Jiang Yuan merely shook his head lightly, choosing not to voice his thoughts. After all, it was a gesture of goodwill from him, and questioning it outright would seem rather uncouth. Yet, what could possibly stir his heart at this moment? It was likely to be a rarity, unless it pertained to something he genuinely valued or found intriguing.